Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Longbox. I totally messed up the day and the hour that this chat was supposed to be on. I put it for 7 o'clock tomorrow, and it wasn't until somebody said, you have two chats tomorrow at the same exact time. I don't know.
You're a busy guy, John.
I'm not. It's the exact opposite. I'm sitting home with a broken neck, with not getting myself in trouble. With not men need to be doing stuff, and I learned that I could go a week and a half of just feet up watching TV, reading comics, and after that I'm like, I want to chop wood. I want to build something.
Uh-huh.
I want to
get the
do
blood
something.
going. Yeah,
So
you gotta get that blood going.
Yeah. I need to apologize to all these people for drama farming, because I think it just means you don't have enough to do in your life, So, and now I learn. I apologize, everybody. I regret my actions. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you accommodating my schedule, John. You had Mark Miller, you had Tim Seeley. Everything's downhill from here now, everybody. Okay.
No. I just like talking to people about comic books. People forget, I started out talking just to fans. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't start out talking to pros. I started out talking to fans, and I'll still talk to fans. There's a couple of people that I see, like Logic Finest. I don't know if he's a pro or if he's just a comic book fan, but this guy makes such interesting comments. I would love to talk to him for an hour, things like that. So I just want to talk to people about comics. This is another guy I want to talk to, Jim O'Reilly. Jim O'Reilly he's drawing up Crom the Destroyer for RJ of the Fourth Age. Great, good artist. I've been seeing some of your art because I'm friendly with RJ, and Nick X is doing, I think, chapter 2. So 2 wonderful artists. I can't wait for Crom the Destroyer to come out. And Jim, if you send me the links, I'll put the links to your comments in the chat since you popped in. But anyway, as I said, I got nothing to do, so I'll accommodate anybody because it's better to get myself in trouble. How are you? How's Berserker?
Good. Wrapped up page 2 with the art. Don't know what I'm gonna letter yet, how I'm gonna letter it yet, but and then we're moving on. It's me moving on to page 3.
It's the royal we, right?
Yeah. Maybe my wife. My wife is included because I'm like, how's this, sweetie? And she's like, it looks great. It's, okay, thanks.
Okay, so she'll give her an edit credit or something. So for those of you who don't know, you're making a comic called Berserker. So tell us about it.
So the premise of Berserker, it's about a teddy bear whose owner is a little girl, gets kidnapped, and she gets pulled into the nightmare realm. So he has to go after her. But when in our world, he's a beat up old teddy bear. But when he enters the nightmare realm, he becomes the Berserker, which is like a hulking Conan the Barbarian character, who he doesn't bleed, he fluffs when he gets injured. And he's just fighting like shadow creatures and stuff like that. I was going to make
a fluff joke, but I try to be family friendly.
Yeah, the girls love the fluff.
Yeah. So I really like this concept. Well, first off, this is family friendly. Right? Yes. It's all ages, which I think is super, super important. And I think it's something that we're forgetting about. And it's easy to forget about it in this independent comic book world because it's not like little kids are turning on the computer and going on YouTube and watching us. So it's, you kind of cater to the adult crowd that we're naturally. But I do think it's nice that you make it an all ages comic, especially about something. I'm going to say childlike, but that's not an insult. It's something like a kid would. So like this, I could see as like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, I kind of designed it with in mind, like maybe like 8 and up. Probably something that maybe I would see growing up as a kid, kind of along the lines of like Secret of Nim or like Never Ending Story. Like it's all ages. Kids can read it. It got a little bit of an edge to it because I don't want to say gore.
Yeah, kids like to be scared.
Yes, and they like cool stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And if it's a little bit dangerous, they'll like it even more. So there's monster guts in it. There's no like humans or anything like that. So there's monster guts. I mean, is he chopping bugs in half? Yeah, he is. Right, but it's like Saturday morning cartoon fun. They would bleed like purple ooze would come out, or something like that. So, but definitely all ages. But everybody can read it, and I think so far what I've gotten a lot is people that I've showed it to and sent it to who are parents, especially dads. They're like, I like it. I get it, so there's kind of that aspect too, because the idea really came from my daughter, to be honest. She sleeps with a stuffed animal every night. And I was like, oh, you
Yeah.
know what? It'd be cool. Like, what stuffed animals like fought nightmares? I kept nightmares away, you know. And then she also my
Well,
cat.
it's a natural concept because the little girl's like, I'm scared. I need my stuffy or something like
Mhm.
that. I know. I in college I dated a woman who had a little girl and she wouldn't go to sleep unless she found her stuffed animal because you know what I mean. And like that was like the story that it protects you when you're sleeping and blah 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 blah. So this is just like a natural story that every kid could relate to.
Yeah, yeah. And I originally had the idea to just do like a little tiny comic, put it out, and then it just kept building, and I just kept writing and drawing and writing and designing, and now it's like, okay, then I want to do like a big epic, but now it's just gonna be I'm gonna do just floppies. I think floppies are the way to go because you don't keep people waiting. And
Well, this is a perfect topic because first off, I want to address Great Gold Worm's comment. Dark Crystal scared me as a kid. Now what? Yeah, yeah.
mhm,
I was a little too old to be scared by Dark Crystal, but my little brothers and sisters, they were scared by it. And like I said, kids like to be scared.
mhm,
Like a fun scare. We're not talking put them in front of a Friday the 13th or something like that, but like
yeah,
like a fun, safe scare. Kids really like that. Like I was I was in third grade when Star Wars came out. That was pretty scary, to
mhm,
go see that in the movie theater. So we love that kind of stuff. But what I was going to say is, I was talking, again, this sounds like I'm name dropper, but yesterday I talked to Mark Miller and he kept mentioning that his kids are into a Dogman,
mhm,
and I know that's like a controversy thing. And I take him as the authority on comic books. This like who if not Mark Miller, and he's just like, yeah, it's an entry level comic
yeah,
to kids. So I was talking with the only other comic book parent that I know whose kid likes Dogman is Brian Bow of Wolf and Batsy, and he says that he was so happy that Mark Miller brought it up. He goes, because it is a comic, but it's children's literature and it's a gateway comic. So, but I know like your boy Zach is like, no, it's children's books, and then so
mhm,
there's basically I'm winding about saying, is it children's comics or is it children's literature or is it both? And then I realized that there should be like a new company that just arises and makes comics like what you're making and maybe hooks up with Scholastic. Like, could this be like
mhm,
I don't know. I'm daydreaming right now. Like, is this like a hole right now? Because little kids aren't reading comics,
mhm,
for the most part. Uh, that not at least American style comic, and then like yours would be a perfect like children's book.
mhm,
You make that try to get it into I forget the name of the company that deals with children's books. Robert Geronimo used to do children's books. Somebody like that, and
yeah,
then you know start like the first of a bunch of comics that
mhm,
like are sold in Scholastic. That aren't politically agenda, that aren't like you know Maureen is a boy or whatever. But this is legit like
yeah,
a little adventure comic for kids. I think I'm gushing over your comic. First off, you sent me a copy.
mhm,
And I'm not just gushing because I didn't pay for it, but I think it's a fun comic. I think it's well drawn. I think it's a cool concept, and I think this is the kind of thing. I'm not going to be as grandiose to say as this could save comics, but I think this is like a good foothold. Get something like this into children's eyeballs,
mhm,
rather than
yeah.
this political agenda stuff. This is. Oh, I'm gushing too much, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I don't mind at all. This is great. I got to pull some quotes from this for issue 1.
Yeah,
That's the idea. My dad got me like I got into comics going to the store with my dad. And we always every Wednesday we would go get comics. First it was the 7-Eleven spinner rack that pulled me in. And I would go get
I
Ninja
got one right
Turtles.
here. I mean, I comic
Yeah.
spinner rack.
It was we'd go to the park. In Chicago, it's a white hand pantry, but it's like a 7-Eleven. And then you would go to the spinner. I'm like, what are these? They had Ninja Turtles, like the Archie Ninja Turtles adventures, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then my brother, he bought Wolverine. So he would buy Wolverine. I would get a Ninja Turtle comic. We'd play some like Double Dragon at the arcade and we'd go home. And every week, me, my dad, my brother would go. And then one it kind of sucked, but it's a good thing that happened. One time, like the guy who was working behind the counter, I was looking to see which one I was going to buy. And I was picking up and looking at the art. And he's like, it's not a library.
We all got that story. Hey, kid.
It's not a library, buy a comic, but we've been going there for months, every week buying comics. Like the guy knew us, so he just wanted to be a jerk about it. And my dad was like, put it back. He's like, I know a place. Let's go.
And your father got pissed.
Yeah. And we went. It was and then he took me to a place. I didn't even know comic stores existed, and it was Windy City Comics in Chicago, and it was a comic book store. Yeah, it blew my freaking mind. And then when did the comics come out? Every Wednesday. Oh man, probably like maybe like 90, 91 maybe.
Okay.
So like right when Ninja Turtles was big on the maybe late 80s, when Ninja Turtles was big on the cartoons and stuff, because I only knew it as first I bought an action figure, then I saw the cartoon, and then I started buying the Archie comics, which I still love to this day. I think they're great. And then comic book, and then ever since then it was like till I was like 17 years old and wanted to talk to girls. It was every Wednesday at the comic book shop for about like a decade, even probably longer going. And so now I take my kid every Wednesday. We go to the comic book shop.
Oh wow, you're a Wednesday warrior. Good for you, man. Yeah. Kid, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. But I find so she picked up some My Little Ponies.
How old is your kid?
She's 6.
Okay.
So she got some My Little Ponies, and she likes to buy the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. The first couple she got, like the My Little Ponies, they are so wordy. Like I'm like, holy crap! Like what?
She said the same thing.
Yeah, she's like, Daddy, read this for me for bedtime. I'm like, we don't got time, sweetie. If you got half an hour, I'll read you this comic book. But man.
Yeah, Lori was just she has the Sister Grimm comic. She says, when her kid wants My Little Pony comic, she's like, anything but that. It's just too many words.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, but then I know. So and then she gets the comic, and she likes the cover, and she looks at them, but she really doesn't read them. And I'm like, there has to be something, something fun and something that can act as something. People want to crap on Dogman, but the guy's making boatloads of money, so he got to be on to something,
right?
And B, he's getting kids in the comics. And I think kids from there, now it's even like going the Scholastic route. Now they can get, I'm not sure if it's still available. I didn't know like Scholastic published like Bone, like collections of Bone.
Bone is a wonderful comic for kids because it starts out so whimsical and it ends very scary. And I'll say the same thing about Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a light read at first and it's kind of formulaic, but it ends. He teaches kids about politics and court intrigue, and the way the media manipulates things. I gush about Harry Potter. Plus, that's how I met my wife, talking about Harry Potter online.
Oh, there you go.
So I will never say anything bad about Harry Potter.
But I feel like like that stuff doesn't hold her. Like, sure, it's My Little Pony, but I didn't feel like it was written for kids. It was boring. A lot of talking when I'm reading this book.
I never read it, but from what I've seen, it's. Again, I'm probably wrong. Maybe I'm talking out of place, but it's got like an adult fan base, and it's adults basically writing what they think children's books should be, rather than adults writing children's books for children. The guy who writes Dogman, apparently, like you said, he's onto something that kids like. Does your daughter like Dogman?
I don't think I've shown her Dogman yet. I'm probably going to introduce her.
Address this. RJ Williams, it's good to see you at the beginning of a talk. Usually when RJ Williams shows up, that means it's time for me to sign off. So good to see you, RJ. Thank you. World of War Comics. Thank you for. Is that Fat Invincible? Poor Invincible let himself go in that avatar. So I just wanted to say hello to RJ because it's just funny. It's like a running joke when he shows up. It's time for me to.
Time to shut it down.
Yeah, here he goes. I made it. I ordered Dogman and it's coming tomorrow, and I'm actually going to do a live Dogman because I want to know, is it, because I've been hearing, it's children's literature, it's not comics. And then Mark Blanc says it's comics.
Yeah. I mean, it does great.
Who am I going to listen to?
Yeah. I mean, I picked it up just to see what the hubbub was about, and I wasn't impressed. And I mean, at the same time, if kids like it, that's cool. But I mean, even like before the comic book store, like I would get Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes from the library. Like that was my introduction to comics. So when you're reading Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes, and then you bring up Dogman, I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? Like I already been eating steak. Like all I know is a steak. And then you bring me a pork chop, man. It's like,
we used to go to the library in my school, and we used I'm really dating myself. Do you guys even know like the Wizard of Id and BC and there were daily comic strips. I think the author was Johnny Hart, but they were like peanuts, but they were little collected books. And that was like the cool thing to get. So we would go to whoever. This is just so stupid. This is just a memory you triggered. But we'd go. I went to a Catholic school, and we would sit at tables based on alphabetical order. And the way the nun controlled us, whoever sat there the quietest, the whole table would be. They got first pick. So A. And then we would run, and we all wanted to get the Wizard of Id and Family Circus, those books.
Yeah.
And the table that had me, the guy who couldn't shut up, we were always the last one. So, we're getting, reading books and textbooks, like this science. What is a cell? Because that was all that was left by the time thanks a lot, John. So, if I was absent on a Wednesday, the kids would get the good books.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It was the Garfield that were the horizontal collected hardcover books that the library had, and then later I found Calvin and Hobbes, and they would have the collected.
Calvin and Hobbes, I love Calvin and Hobbes.
And it's just
to the point where I'm doing a spoof on Calvin and Hobbes in issue 2 of Heroic Tales.
It's better now as an adult, to be honest, because I understand more of the jokes now. So go back and read it, and you're like, oh, okay, he's having an existential crisis right now.
And my wife just brought it up, and I was like, oh, I love Calvin and Hobbes, because Calvin, it's based on Calvinism, predeterminism, and Hobbes is Hobbesian philosophy, which is like the primitive noble savage. So Hobbes is the tiger who, my wife's like, did you read the same strip as me? I'm like, I'm sorry. But Michael says, the TV show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, has a huge adult fan base because it's so well written. Adults can't help but like it, which is surprising. This is news to me. I'm not the target audience for My Little Pony.
Yeah, yeah. If you grew up with My Little Pony and you wouldn't watch it because it was a kid show. When I was little, it was a kid show for girls. So it's like,
yeah, that to me, that's like Care Bears. I wasn't interested in that.
No, thanks.
There was a whole like me. After me, there was the He-Man. Like I'm too old for He-Man, for G.I. Joe, for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's my generation.
And Thundercats. But I remember them, and I was also too old for Gargoyles, but Gargoyles was so well written that it caught my eyes, and I watched it anyway. It was Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series. I was like, oh my God, this was like really good television. But I missed that. And then there was I'm going to say like a 5-year period where everything was just like sharing is caring, and Snorks and Smurfs and like promoting community and no action. It was just terrible. So no wonder there's like a whole generation of like wusses, like the cartoons weren't fun. And then
look, you're watching My Little Pony. I mean, what do you? I'm just kidding.
My brother bought tons of Calvin and Hobbes. I think I have a collection. I think it's 3 volumes. That's everything Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, The Far Side, Pogo. I have Will Kelly's Pogo right over here. So many good strips. Gargoyles was fantastic, and it took me years to see the second season because for some reason the first season was on repeats. I bought the DVD, and I don't know what was going on, but that second season had like Odin and Shakespearean characters and everything. It took me years to finally see that in order. Gargoyles was so good to the point I'm trying to get Greg Weisman to come on my channel. I'm a big fan. That's when the commies took over. Yep.
To be honest, I mean, if we're talking about kids shows like My Little Pony that was written well, I couldn't get into it, but Bluey probably has some of the best writing on TV right now.
I went to my buddy's house a couple of weeks ago, Jimmy, if you're watching, and they were watching Bluey, and he said, I know what it looks like, but pay attention. But I was like, we're going to a restaurant. I'm not going to sit here and pay attention to Bluey. Let's get going. But everybody says Bluey is good.
It is good because it doesn't dumb the kids down and it doesn't dumb the parents down. And each thing has like a moral like lesson to it of like how to like just be like a decent person or sharing or something. But it's done to where it's like it's almost I could tell like the writers pulled from their experiences is what they did. I feel like they were like as parents and as like growing up and they remember things and the writing and every episode has heart and you could tell these people really care about what they're doing. And I think that's why it's so successful.
everybody knows Chuck Dixon, like one of the most voluminous comic book writers of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a whole bunch of funny comics. We forget that he wrote Simpsons. I think he wrote Radioactive Man. He wrote Scooby-Doo for a while, for years. When I say a while, and he says, kids, don't dumb it down for kids. Kids are not stupid. And that's why kids like Star Wars, the original Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say that Star Wars started to lose its path during Return of the Jedi, where they changed it from Wookiees to Ewoks. I think they started to pander a little bit to kids, but kids, don't pander to kids. Don't kids like to be scared. If like Bugs Bunny, how long? I'm gonna assume you watch Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
We all watch Bugs Bunny, and I watched it as a kid, and then as an adult, I'm going back and watching stuff that oh my God, this is so funny. This is good, because they don't pander. Don't treat kids stupid.
Yeah.
I think they lost it for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Although, and you got to make it cool. That's the one thing. You got to make it, whatever you make, if you want to do, pander to, this is for girls, this is for boys, this is whatever. There's a reason why certain girls like comic books, certain girls like Star Wars. Because, girls, even my daughter loves cool stuff.
Right.
She got my Mandalorian helmet in her room right now because it's cool. We watched a couple episodes. She thought it was okay. She really liked Baby Yoda, but she has the helmet. She wears the helmet and plays with the helmet.
That was brilliant marketing, huh? They did everything. They had the cool loader. Basically, it was a Western, in those deserts. The spaceships might have been horses. You had the laser beam instead of a 6-shooter. And then he's taking care of a baby. So they had everything that a man wants. And then women want to see a baby and a strong guy protecting a baby. And then you want to see that cool guy killing off. I can see why everybody liked The Mandalorian.
Yeah. It was cool. It's pretty much Lone Wolf and Cub in space is what it is.
Right.
Is what
exactly.
It was.
Exactly what it is. What did I just read a Sergeant Rock from 1972. And in the Sergeant Rock, he found a little French girl, and he was carrying her, and then he put her in a cart, and he was going through, German occupied France with this little 6-year-old survivor.
Oh, yeah.
And I always does anybody know? I don't know. I'm asking, when did Lone Wolf and come out? Is this before Lone Wolf and Cub, or did these people maybe see Lone Wolf and Cub and make a Sergeant Rock comic?
I know Lone Wolf and Cub. I think that one's been around for a while because it's always, I think because it was movies when they were doing black and white too. It's been around for a long.
Okay.
I don't know if it started as a manga, but like around the time, like when they were doing black and white samurai movies, and when they were doing like Zatoichi and Yojimbo and Sanjuro, like when they were doing those films, they were making Lone Wolf and Cub movies, and the first one I think was called Baby Cart in Hell.
So they made movies before the comics?
I don't know how. I know they made movies back then. I don't know if the comics were still going or started then, but they were old movies. They're old black and white.
I just remember that this particular comic was from 1972, so I was.
Then they probably were fans.
But this one, Marcus is absolutely right when he says this Bugs Bunny wasn't really made for kids. It was made for everyone because, like my dad, I'm an oldest than myself, so obviously my dad was even older. But he was saying like they would get a nickel and they would go down to the movie theater on Sundays and spend hours. Grandpa would be like, get out of here. Here's a nickel. And, so they would watch cartoons. They would watch the news. They would watch a B movie and an A movie and then more. So, there was adults watching because that was the entertainment. This was before televisions were in people's houses. So yes, Bugs Bunny had to entertain everybody and you couldn't afford to dub it down for anybody. Lone Wolf is the 70s, I believe. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I got the Lone Wolf comics. What was it? First comics when they brought them to America for the first time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if the movie came first, like the movie or the what you call it, the book came first. I don't know. I just remember watching it in black and white.
I like manga. I just don't know enough about it. I'm not one of these.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great manga, and I'm kind of afraid because I know me. I'll start going down rabbit holes, and I still got too many comics I haven't read yet, and then if I start into manga, I'll never go outside the house.
I just don't like they're tiny. That's the only thing I don't like. It's like I'm 42 years old. I need my stuff big, man. I don't want to read tiny books. So I have a couple. Like I got like the Battle Angel Alita, but they're like, they're hardcover and they're big. So if they come like that, I'll probably check them out, but even then, it's like
I was given this book, and my wife read it and really liked it, but the writing is so small. I'm
I
actually
didn't see what that was. You froze for a second.
Immortal Mask. It's really good.
Okay.
Indie guy on a. We had a conflict of scheduling, so we need to reschedule. But I need to read it with a magnifying glass. Now, tell me you're old without saying you're old when you're reading a comic with a magnifying glass.
I think it's also the format too. The manga I'm trying to follow, and it's back. It hurts my brain. I can't. I got the. Oh, I don't have it here. Oh, it's over there. I can't reach. I got the Lost Pages, the tome from Philip Diaz. It has the first 2 Lost Pages, and it's about a. It's a. I don't want to say it's a manga size. I think it's more of a digest size, like an Archie size. And that one's really good. Like, that one's really cool. That's a nice size. I think it might be a little bit bigger. It feels like it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, to me, I just actually broke this out to read just before we started talking. But
oh wow,
a regular floppy comic is about as small as I could deal with.
Yeah,
my eyes are getting bad. And these are reading glasses. Like to drive, I don't need to wear glasses. Matter of fact, when I went to the cigar party at Graham Nolan, people didn't recognize me because I didn't have my glasses on. So I could prove that Superman's identity is safe as Clark Kent.
There you go. Who let this guy in? Oh, it's John.
In 4 years, I went from 50% reading glasses to 100, 1.25 reading glasses.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean? Like so. Or is it the other way? Whatever it is.
Yeah, I got prescription. I don't know what they do. They just tell me I need them. Like, okay.
Yeah, I actually have an appointment with an optometrist finally. I used to have magnifying goggles to paint my mini. I can't paint minis.
I wouldn't have the patience.
You know what we're talking about? Painting little pictures. I'm into those war games, but I just won't do it. I have one game that I'm painting. It's Marvel United. It's Marvel characters, and I just played for DC United, and they got like, I'm talking like a stack this high of boxes. You got the Fantastic Four, you got Avengers, you got X-Men, but they're like chibi, and they're not super detailed. And superheroes only have 2 or 3 colors, so those I could paint. I'll show pictures if anybody's interested. Yeah, my eyes just me and my wife both need glasses, and my glasses are going to get worse and worse and worse. So anyway, let's get back to Beer Zerka. We veered about Saturday morning cartoons for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
You said Beer Zerka, and if I was smart, I would have left it right over here. But I enjoyed it, and you did you wrote it, you drew it, you colored it, you lettered it, right?
Yes. The only thing I didn't do was the logo. So the logo was done by Matt Barr.
Okay,
he did the logo for me. And whether you like the guy or not, I think he does the best logos in indie comics. Hands down. I think his logos
is a phenomenal talent. I mean,
he's great.
I marveled over the art in Rock and Roll Ninja.
I love his style, the energy that he got, dude. Phenomenal.
He's doing a page in my comic too that is just so freaking funny. It's so freaking funny.
And then one of my buddies, Big Boy Robo, he's on Twitter, Big Boy Robo, he colored the cover for me. But otherwise than that, here it is. Here it is in black and white. That's what I sent him. But yeah, everything's done. Everything else is done by me. I didn't do any crowdfund or anything for this. I printed it myself. I only printed 100 copies that I'm selling. So if you do want a copy, each one is numbered and signed by me. Once we hit 100, I'm not selling the first edition anymore. I'll probably put a second edition. I'm thinking I want to try Amazon print on demand. So I might put it up there. So anybody who has Amazon, even if you're overseas, you can order it and not have to worry about like paying like exorbitant amounts and shipping. So I'm actually doing another cover for the second edition. But yeah, no, it's all everything's on me. I didn't want to do a crowdfunder, and I probably won't do a crowdfunder, to be honest. Even for issue 1, I think I'm just going to do it myself and maybe do a limited run of it and
just sell it, or like when it's completely done and then do a crowdfunder, or just.
I'm gonna same thing I did for this. I finished the book, I had it printed, sent it to me, and then just like I'm selling them now, you just DM me on Twitter. And I'll send a $15 for the book, $10 shipping. I send it to you in a Gemini mailer.
Oh, do you have it? Do you think you could get it like through Diamond into comic stores and stuff?
I don't know. I've been taking it to my local comic shop, and I've maybe sold like 10 copies that way. And then in my store, because I sell like retro video games and movies, I've probably sold maybe like 10 to 15 copies there. Because a lot of my regulars, they know me. So like, oh, you did a comic? Oh, cool. Let me buy it.
Is that your job? You own a game store?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's why I'm able to like look at your streams and comment every once in a while because I'm doing stuff and I have the screen up so
Oh
I can
wow.
watch.
My ugly face is up on a big screen in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what your customers.
So yeah, so that's what I do. But I got regulars and they're like, oh, I didn't know you draw, or I didn't know that you did a comic. So then they buy the prints and they buy that. So
Oh, that
which
is
is neat.
cool. Who,
So, but
who
not
may I ask what
I
state you're in?
yeah, I'm in South Carolina. And
Okay.
the store itself is called Old School Player Video Games. We're in Lexington. So if you come on by and mention John's Longbox, I'll give you a 5% discount.
There you go. There you
There
go.
you go. Well, yeah, but don't forget to buy. You could buy Berserker there physically too. I got copies there for sale, with prints and stuff like that. So
So just video games and I guess comics too.
no, honestly, no comics, only my comic.
Okay, I don't want no competition.
And movies. So we do movies and music and video games is what we do. So and little model kits and stuff like that. People want a model kit of a tank or a plane.
Board games or anything?
A couple little board games.
I'm a board game freak too.
Yeah, you know what? We tried and they just didn't move. And we started with basics. Like we got a couple like some that came in that were like popular like tabletop games, but they didn't move. Monopoly doesn't move. Scrabble,
No.
like I still have some I ordered 2 years ago, and I'm like, somebody please buy this Scrabble and get it off my shelf. I need the space.
No, nobody want those. You got to go into like a regular store and get those. You got to get like Ticket to Ride or King of Tokyo.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one that I had.
Sheriff of Nottingham. Those.
I can't remember what it's called.
But you would have two
of them.
But you would have to know them and explain them. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I could explain Mario. Yeah. I don't got time for that stuff, to be honest.
Are you the kind of store like you would have a table people could actually sit down and play?
I don't actually. I have a room that you rent out with a bunch of video game consoles.
Oh, okay.
And TVs that you could come and play Mario, play like old school Mario up to like the newer stuff. We're not doing like the new stuff because it's too complicated to set up. Like you could come play like Mario or Zelda or Street Fighter and stuff like that.
In the mall by me, there's an old school arcade. They call it like the 80s arcade.
Mm-hmm.
And they only play like 80s music, and you pay like I forget because my wife always wants to go, and we just pay. You get like a little band. And we play pinball all day long, and we
nice.
Play the old Avengers. Like you just hit again, and you could play again. Like you just pay one price. So I finally beat the Avengers. That game I used to play over and over and over, but you only have a certain amount of quarters.
Yeah,
I actually got emotional when I beat it. So, but we go there, we play pinball, and then we go to the food court. We act like it's the 80s again. I'm joking. I say I got to get a big, hot green shirt. She's got to wear hot pink.
There you go with some triangles and stuff on it
and stuff like that. Except
there you go.
Hair crazy.
I got a couple little arcade machines in I got a little arcade that I kind of put together. I bought some of those ones you get for your home because they have like 15 games each. So I'm able to have put 8 of them in this room and then have 100 games.
Like the coin-fed arcade games.
Yeah, but they're smaller, but you do have to stand up and play them. You know what I mean? They're arcade 1-up. You can buy them for your house, but so they have the one I have, one of them I got is has Centipede, Millipede, Lunar Lander, Asteroids Deluxe. It has a bunch of them on there. And
all on one machine?
All on one machine, yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
But it looks like Centipede. It looks like the Centipede arcade. And I got one that's Dig Dug. It looks like the Dig Dug, but it has Pac-Man and Galaga 88 and a bunch of map and a bunch of other games. So I like those because you can get 15 games per machine. And it's cool. I could get a bunch of games in this small space.
I know that there's a place online that you could get old rebuilt. It's only $500, for an old stand up. But I don't know which one would I want.
That's
and
tough.
Believe it or not, there's a group that gets old school pinball machines, and they'll have a pinball machine, and you keep it in your house. And when you're tired, you could go to part of this group, and people trade. I'm tired of this. I beat this one, and okay, who wants this one? I want this. And you swap with other people.
Yeah.
But I imagine because when I had the pizzeria, the pinball machine was always breaking. At least once every 2 weeks, the repairman was there fixing it. So these people must know how to fix pinball machines.
I think that's the way to go, and also pinball collecting now is not cheap. It's a rich man's game now.
Yeah,
it's not you can get an arcade machine, but trying to get a pinball machine.
Oh, looks like we lost J-Bot. So I'll answer some of these questions. No, I never beat Dragon's Lair. Dragon's Lair was like I put a quarter in the machine, I went in the wrong direction, and the game was over. So
it's a memory game.
Yeah, it was jump through the hoops games. I didn't particularly find those to be fun. There was a board game shop in Outer Banks that was fun. I got a Risk game that was set in the future. A board game. Oh, so you got Risk 2220, the most contentious, argumentative game in the world, and I freaking love it. It's a Risk game, but they solved the problem. I'm gonna get excited now because I love this game. I love Risk. I probably played more Risk than any other game with my friends as kids, like a rainy day or a snowy day or whatever. We get like 5 guys to play. But the problem with Risk is you're winning and I'm losing for 2 hours. So you're just trying to be a good sport. But the way Risk 2224, I think it's called, is it's you got to get 5 points to win. So if I take your capital, so you start out with a point because you have a capital. And then if you take my capital, that's 2 points. And if you trade in your cards, you could buy a point. Or you could trade in your cards and get armies. So it sounds like, oh, that's an easy decision. You want a point. But if it's the decision is excruciating. And then there's also other cards that you could play like that randomize it. Like, okay, this is a nuke card. And you're like, what? I can't believe you're doing that nuke card. And then you roll the dice. You could be affected by it, but you're losing. You don't care. It's so much freaking fun. And they got another map of the moon.
That's cool.
And you got the moon. And there's a whole bunch of different other of risks. But also, this, I don't know if this will blow your mind or not. And I'm sorry for taking up so much time talking about this. But there's another Risk game called Risk Legacy. And when you play it, it's basic normal Risk. The first time you play it, it's basic normal Risk. And then the winner gets a choice of stickers. And you get a sheet for the winners. The winner pulls off a sticker and you get to put it on the board. And it changes the state of the board. Then the second, if you lost, you get a sticker and it goes on. Each character has like a character board and it gives you a power. So if you beat me, next time we play, I have an advantage because I got my ass kicked. And then everybody else who just stayed in the game, there's another sheet. They all get to put stickers on the board. And then there's a rule book. Did this happen? You check. Did this happen? If this condition's met, you pull it back, and there's something back there that changes the rules of the game. And if you open up the box, there's boxes and there's pieces in the box that I'm not joking. I had this game on the shelf for 10 years. I still don't know what's in those freaking boxes because those conditions haven't been met yet. But the problem is I'm an anal retentive. So I bought that game and the 5 people that play, then COVID happened. We stopped playing and we all scattered. So I can't play that again. So then I bought a second copy to play with my nieces and nephews. Oh, we're all going to play. Well, they went to college. They got married, moved over here. So now I met a new group of people right over here, and they all say that they'll play. So I'm gonna buy another $70 version. And when you play, you can take a Sharpie, you sign your name on the board like a document. I remember
that's cool.
This feels important. So and it's supposed to be 15 games. If you play with that same group, 15, you're gonna have a totally unique, different game of Risk than anybody else on the planet.
Oh, that's cool.
So now that I got excited, I gotta go back to the SpaceX. I remember SpaceX. Zach Dennis saying yes to something. Risk has caused so many families to be destroyed. I still haven't talked to my uncle. Yeah, Risk causes a problem. I actually broke my friend Sean's nose over a game of Risk. He wouldn't stop playing with the tennis ball. He showed up late, so we started without him. So he was mad. So he was throwing a tennis ball in the room. And I said, Sean, you're going to knock over the board. He knocked over the board, and I punched him in the nose. And it was like his face was a water balloon of blood all over the room. We had to paint. That's how bad it was. That is contentious. I've never played Diplomacy. And Monopoly, this is going to be controversial, but Monopoly is not a bad game if you play it by the rules on the box. Nobody played like free parking is not a rule. Free parking is just a safe space. Nothing happened. It's like, whew, I got free parking. But the problem is you have a finite set of money, and I'm trying to drain you of your money. Every time you add more money all you're really doing is adding more time to the game, like a real box rules version of Risk. And you got to play. You each space can only hold the same amount of houses. So if you have all the green properties, you could only put 3, 3, and 3, or 2, 2, and 2. You could do 1, 2, and 2, but you can't go 3, 2. You know what I mean? Like, and you physically have to put the pieces on the board. So there's 28 houses, and there's 12 hotels. I think you have to build and put the pieces on the board. If there's not enough pieces in the box for you to put 4, you can't build a hotel. So that's part of the strategy. Is if I get all yellows, and all the greens, I buy up all the houses, and then nobody could get hotels because they physically, you know what I mean? And that's called the housing shortage strategy.
Oh wow, that's cool.
But nobody wants to play Monopoly by house. And also, I land on Boardwalk. I don't buy it. It goes up for auction, and this fun stuff. Marcus is
yeah.
I'll just go through the chats, and then we'll get back to you. This legacy sounds interesting. Not sure if I could trick my family. You shouldn't be able to trick them. If I'll tell you, if with a legacy game, there's a few legacy games, meaning they change state every time you play them. You got to play with the same people, and you got to be into it. I have a group of 6 of us. We play Charterstone every 3 weeks. It's a legacy game, and it's just so much fun with the same people. You know what I mean? And the rules of the game. I have a game called Betrayal on the House of the Hill Legacy that I'd like to try out next. It's basically Scooby-Doo the game.
Oh, okay.
There's not too many legacy games. They just came out with Ticket to Ride Legacy. I can't wait to try that. I love Ticket to Ride. Risk, Monopoly, Mario Kart, Uno, the fastest one. Yeah, my niece knows I'm into board games, so it's real cute. She always wants to play Uno with me, and I don't let kids win. I'm a jerk that way.
Yep.
I've owned Kingdom Death Monster for years, and I've never played it. I got the full in $400 Kingdom Death Monster, and I didn't want to. It comes sprues. You have to take the pieces off the sprues and glue them together. I didn't want to do that. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have bought it. Luckily, my friend Zach bought it off me, and then I played with them a few times. I wasn't too impressed. I wasn't too impressed.
Oh wow!
Monopoly is fun and festive if you write your own chance card. That's true. That's true. All right, I'm all caught up. So I'm sorry. I just went on a tangent.
We've played Monopoly, and it wasn't too bad. When last time I played, we had friends that we would do game night every week, and we did it to where it's like you can also do like, okay, we do 10 rounds, like 10, and then whoever has the most at the end, like whoever has the most, like whoever is worth the most at the end of those 10 turns. Everybody gets 10, we go around the table 10 times, and it actually lasts like about an hour.
Right.
And then whoever has it, that's another in the book. It says that's another way that you can play. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, who has the most assets? Who has the most houses? Who has the most property? Who's worth the most at the end of those turns? Okay, cool. Yeah, you won. It's like, all right, let's start again. Okay, cool. I remember instead of sitting playing the same game for 3 hours.
They had a game of Monopoly. There was like an electronic device that it kept track of everybody's money, and it kept track of like everything. So like when you hit that 10% or $200, it told you exactly how much, because nothing brings Monopoly to a standstill. Like that one guy who wants to figure out 10% of his worth to pay the tax, just throw $200 in, yeah. And then like arguments over, do you own it if it's mortgaged and stuff like but I have a Cthulhu Monopoly. It's called why can't I think of it? But it's Cthulhu Monopoly, and it's the Monopoly pieces of the old gods. And instead of building houses, you're destroying reality and putting, instead of hotels and stuff like that, you're putting warps on the board, and so the board gets smaller and smaller. And as you land into a warp, you can go, and it's just like it gets quicker as you play because there's less left board. It's sloppy, but it's fun. I don't know. I love board games, but instead of playing Monopoly, play Settlers of Catan.
Okay.
Yeah, Settlers of Catan. That's like the gateway game. But the problem with Settlers of Catan is it's only 4 people.
Okay.
And I'm pointing right over here because I got like a big wooden ceramic edition of Settlers of Catan. But
okay. Yeah,
they play a goof on it on a Big Bang Theory all the time. The Warriors of whatever.
Okay.
So am I boring everybody talking about board games? Let's talk about comic books. So I'm just
I was about to
fascinated.
start. Do you play much card games in terms of like me and my family? We started playing that Disney Lorcana,
That is
and
supposed to be really, really good. I haven't
it's
played it yet.
fun. It's fun. I mean, if you played like Magic, it's
I
kind of the
played
same
Magic.
thing, but it's more family, and they kind of have the rules, so you pretty much can play with any amount of people that you
Right.
want to. And so like my 6-year-old daughter, we played yesterday. I built her a little deck. She loves Frozen. And then, we just play, me, my wife, and my mother-in-law plays with us too. So usually it's us three playing. And my daughter was kind of like, whatever. And then she started saying that I was playing Elsa cards, and she loves Frozen. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build you a Frozen deck. So I built her a Frozen deck. We played yesterday, and she
Please
stomped
tell me she
my
kicked you.
ass in the dirt.
Yes.
She
I'm rooting for
stomped my ass in
I'm rooting for the kid.
I was like, I don't know what you have. And she's a beginner reader. She can kind of put stuff together, and so it's like, and I'm actually proud of myself because she can't hold the cards. So while she was, I was like, okay, well, we're gonna play. And she's like, well, she gotta take a shower first because she just came from jujitsu. And I was like, okay. So my wife was giving her a shower, and I went in the garage, and I had 2 pieces of scrap wood, and I made her like a tripod card holder for her to put her hand. She could put her hand there, and nobody can see it. And so, because she can't hold them, she has trouble holding them because her hands are small, and she gets really mad that she can't hold them. So I
Oh,
built her the thing in like 5 minutes.
yeah, you could go to any game store that they have like little, you know how Scrabble holds all the little tiles?
Yeah,
They got these little strips and just for card stands. You could
yeah,
go
that's
to
pretty much.
any
Yeah, it's pretty much
and
what
it's
I
a
made
lot of
her
cute
out
little
of 2
kids.
pieces of scrap wood. I think mine's cooler though.
Yeah, of course. Daddy made it. Daddy made it.
I
Well,
used a nail gun.
Excuse
That's
me.
how I put it.
Why am I dismissing that Daddy made something for the daughter? Forget it. I'm the bad guy here. I apologize. You're
So
absolutely
I
right.
couldn't even see her hand, and she kicked my ass. Like
That
it
is
was
awesome.
great. It was great. And then she's
In
like, "You can't
Lorcana,
beat me. I'm the champion."
that's called a collectible card game, and
Yeah.
I'm too I don't want to say OCD because I'm not OCD, but I'm too like obsessive in a way. Like if I like a comic, I got to get everything. I like J. Abday
Mhm.
Matisse, I got to get every one of his comics. So a collectible card game, I got to get all the cards, and some of those cards are so rare. Like Magic the Gathering, I really liked Magic the
Mhm.
Gathering. And when I first moved out to Albuquerque, it was 1993. My roommates were into Magic the Gathering, and we played the hell out of that. And I was trying to
Mhm.
get every card, and now I wish I kept those cards because now those original Magic cards are worth. We had Black Lotus cards. We had,
Yeah.
the original. I I, I could tell you my Magic the Gathering story if you're interested. But
Sure.
my roommate.
I used to play all the time in high school too. Yeah.
Speaking of Magic, it was designed by Richard Garfield, who designed King of Tokyo right over here, which is a
Okay.
great family game. Richard Garfield is a great designer, but my roommate Jeff, he worked in the warehouse that was the distributor for Magic cards in the Southwest, and there was this brick building, and then he would literally taking cases of Magic cards, and when nobody was looking, he would throw them out the window into the dumpster, and
Wow.
shelve this went into the dumpster, and then we and him would drive like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He was a skinny string bean, jump into that. We had 6 cases of Magic cards. We'd sort them out,
Man.
and it was University of New Mexico, so everybody was playing. So we were like the drug dealers of Magic cards. We'd go to the Village Inn, we go to the IHOP, where all the kids were playing Magic cards, and I was joking around, like opening up my coat and having cards. Hey, what do you want? You want? And we would just sell it. And I'm not joking. For a semester, that's how we paid our rent, was selling Magic cards.
Wow.
And
I believe it.
it was funny because Albuquerque it's an open carry state, so I have my pistol on my holster, and I go. Some other guy was selling Magic cards, and this was stupid of me. So I was like, "Oh, you're selling Magic cards in my territory?" I didn't really care, so I opened up and the guy, poof, and I was like, I would have got shot. But so and to this day, I won't play Magic because when I left the house first, we were sharing a house, and we had a treasure chest. I'm not even joking. It looked like a pirate treasure chest, a rounded wooden chest, and we had all our cards sorted. All the lands, all the manas, all the green cards, and we always thought that somebody was going to steal it. So in the basement of the house, you open up the door, there was a boiler room, and then when you went behind the boiler room, there was just an empty sand room. It was one of the few houses in Albuquerque that had a basement. Albuquerque doesn't have a lot of basements, so there was just this weird extra space, and we put it there because we thought we were going to get raided at any minute. I left, and then I graduated, I moved, and then Jeff stayed in Albuquerque, and then just lost touch of him. So like years later, I'm like, hey Jeff, how are you? I live in Minneapolis now. Oh, whatever happened to that thing of magic cards? He goes, I thought you took them. So we're like, oh my God, is that still there? Because there was Black Lotus cards. There was 1993 magic cards in this house. Like I fantasize about next time, because I keep talking about like the Frontier Diner and all these wonderful places to eat in Albuquerque. I'm like, we got to go to Albuquerque. Oh my God, my friend Kevin watches this. I got to tell Kevin to go to the house. See if we could go to that house and go back there and see if that treasure chest of cards is still in the basement.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Me and Jeff, we were on eBay on the phone, like a Black Lotus card's like $100,000. And we had Black Lotus cards. I'm trying to think of all the original Magic cards. So this is like the lost treasure that we of the chair. I'm not telling anybody what street in Albuquerque, just somewhere in Albuquerque. There's a little treasure chest filled with treasure. But Magic was a funny thing. Oh, I lost you again. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's on me. I think it's storming by me. Yes, it's storming by me, so it might be my fault. Anybody in the chat, is he roboting out or am I roboting out?
I think I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I'm having storms, man. Oh, you got storm too? Yeah, the whole East Coast is filled with storms.
Yeah.
But
I was making a Raiders of the Lost Ark joke to find the you gotta have a stick with a medallion and stand at an intersection at a certain point of day, and it'll show you which house it is.
On it at the end of the I like to, I
know I'm losing. Am I freezing?
No, you're out of focus, but you're fine. Okay. I just won't play Magic now because I to play that game, you need deep pockets. You know what I mean? You're going to go online, you're going to buy the exact perfect cards. And I don't like that. There's a board game I keep pointing over here. It's called Sorcerer, and it solves all the Magic problems. It's everything in a box. I just buy it, and then something like 28 different decks. There's like the Mighty Forest Wizard, or the Smelly Dwarven, Necromancers, and you just grab like an adjective, a descriptor, and a noun. You shuffle them together, and there you go, and you play. So it gives you the Magic feeling without, and you can get the whole thing for like $50. So whenever I want to play Magic, I just play Sorcerer.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, so does your daughter like Disney? Like, is it the Lorcana that you? So there's a game called Disney Villainous.
I heard that's good.
It is awesome. It is awesome. Yeah. I'm not a big Disney fan. I just don't really care for nothing political. I just don't like Disney. It doesn't speak to. But I love this freaking game. They have a Disney version, they have a Star Wars version, and they have a Marvel version.
Okay.
The Marvel version is perhaps the best because you could take all the villain cards and shuffle them together. I mean, it's okay for, if you're Iron Man, you could fight Dr. Octopus. You know what I mean? It makes sense. But for the Disney version, you can't shuffle. Like because Villainous is you're the bad guy. So if you're Hades, you got to fight Hercules. It doesn't work if you're Hades and you fight Robin Hood and Little John. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're the villain, you get your stuff right here, and then there's a deck of the hero cards. So when it's your turn and you want to mess with me, you play a card that forces me to take a hero card and put it in my display. You know what I mean? So it only works if I'm Hades and it has Hercules because it syncs with my stuff. But when you play Marvel, you could take all of it. Like Thor could fight Galactus.
Yeah.
Or it's Villainous. So you're Galactus. Galactus could fight the Avengers. Galactus could fight the Defenders. So I think the Marvel version is the best, but the Disney version is really good, and everybody plays a completely different game. So if you're playing as Maleficent, because you're playing the villains, and I'm playing as Prince John, and Marion over here is playing as I'm trying to think of another, as a Syndrome, from the Incredible. You're playing completely different games. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. I gotta check that out then. Yeah, because it's hard for us to. We like Lorcana because 3 or 4 of us can play. So that's kind of the difficult with That's why they have a Ursula game that's Lorcana that you play against Ursula,
Yeah.
and they give you cards and stuff, and you actually play against the game itself. But it's only 2 players, and so we haven't got it. But yeah, I heard Villains is like 4 players, so that might
Yeah.
be
Villains, I
fun.
think you could play like 6 people because
Oh,
you're
that's
not
cool.
really because you're playing. It's like multiplayer solitaire. Everybody just takes their turns, and there's just like a pot in the middle of like coins, and then everybody, so the interaction is really just like, I really want to succeed, or I could play a card that messes with you. So I think there's up to 6 people could play, and everybody takes a short, quick turn. But you have to learn how all the players work, so you could explain it to your daughter, so you could explain it to your wife. I mean, because it's you get one card with the basic rules, but then everybody has a different win condition. And sometimes you could forget that. Like, are you winning? Like, because you don't know, because everybody's win condition. Yeah, it's hard to get. Yeah, tell me about it. Getting adults to play a game is like herding cats. Yeah, right in front of my computer is a big giant board game table. And on Monday nights I have friends over. We play a game, and on Thursday nights I have a different group, and then like every third Saturday I have another group. And then like once a month, I have a 4th group, and we play role-playing games. But I'm a lucky, I'll go out and find stuff like that.
Hey, you want to go play games? I tried to
when I built this room, my wife got all teary-eyed. She's like, it's a shame. Nobody, you did all this work, because we just moved here. We don't know anybody. And I'm like, don't worry. Now, 3 years later, I got 4 or 5 different game groups, because
there you go.
That's the way I do.
Yeah, I played with hockey. We played D&D. We did like 2 sessions of D&D. Me, hockey, Billy Basco, a couple of my artist friends and stuff. We got together. We played like 2 sessions of D&D, and it was fun. They were kind of long, but then it was like trying to get everybody back together again. And we're doing it online. Like, we're not even doing it in physical form.
I won't play online. I played once online, and it loses that personal interaction. But D&D, did you run the game, or were you a player?
No, I just was a player. Hockey he was the DM. He was running the game and everything. It was fun. It was really cool.
What did you play?
I played a ranger.
Okay.
Just a human ranger. I was like, I'm gonna be a human ranger. I just want to talk. And once I was able to like talk to animals, I was like, give me that. I'm gonna talk to animals, dude. I was like, all right. It was fun. I remember
when we were kids, that like talking to animals, and like all the animals were like forest sages, and that stuff. And then one day we were playing, and Carl just had the recollection, like, squirrels got to be stupid. So I'm talking to squirrels, and squirrels are just like, I'm hungry, food. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably what a squirrel would be saying. You know what I mean? Like, hawks. Yeah. So talking to animals, I liked when we were younger and more like childish and whimsical. The animals knew secrets that the humans didn't know. Yeah, I saw a comment in here that I wanted to address, and I talked so much that I forgot it. Where is it?
That's me every day.
I know. Oh, there we go. Derail. Twilight Imperium is a good gateway game. Have you ever played Twilight Imperium? No. I Twilight. There's gaming. There's tabletop board gaming, and then there's Twilight Imperium. That is just a whole level of nerdiness. I'm not even joking. You can play up to 8 people. It's playing the entire Star Wars trilogy and Dune at the same time, and it's like you could play one game for like 12 hours.
Oh wow!
So we schedule like once or twice a year. Me and my buddies I got the player mat, I got the giant table, and then I got little, what do they call them, like dinner tables that fold out. I got one in between each player. So it's I really should film it one day, but we'll stop, and I'll cater it. We'll call like a taco place and I'll set up another plastic foldable table over there. We got food. My wife loves it because there's food catered. And we're downstairs. We'll put on like the Star Wars theme, the Dune music. On and just next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, 6 hours have gone by.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, it is, and the point is to get 10 points.
Oh,
So and it takes like an hour of finagling to get that one point, you know, and you're like, oh my God, it's so much fun. I got a t-shirt that I only wear when we play Twilight Imperium.
Awesome.
Yeah, I get into it. I love the theme of games. You know, I love stories. So like that's why I don't like chess. You know, there's no story in chess.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll play Twilight Imperium and I'll be like, oh man, that was Zaktan. His empire was coming over the side. We made an alliance over here with J-Bot, and you broke the treaty, and you know, and I'm remembering space battles in my head. You know, it's just so much fun.
Oh, that's cool.
All animals speak the same animal language and have their own parallel societies that we humans. That have you talked to my wife? She believes that the animals are smarter. You know, tacos. Yes, absolutely. Come on over. The Dungeon Master always has Invincible turned on by default. Yeah. So I never met anybody who actually runs a gaming store before. Did you open it?
No, actually, so like the guy who opened it is actually my friend now. I used to live in Illinois. You know, my family lived in Illinois. That's where I met my wife, but her family's from down here in South Carolina. So when her parents retired, they moved down here. So when we would come visit, and it's like, well, I got to get out of the in-laws' house. Let me see if there's a game store. And at the time, I was heavy into collecting retro games. So then I would look up and I came across the store, Old School Player Video Games. And at the time, it was a small little store, like it was super tiny, but David always had cool stuff. So anytime I would come in town, like I would visit the store and we would shoot the breeze for a bit. And I'd buy some stuff. And then when my father-in-law passed away, we were going to move my mother-in-law up there, but I was over the weather. I was over snow and being cold. I was like, so my wife was just in passing, just kind of half serious, was like, well, we could move down there with my mom. Like, sold. Let's all get a house. We all live together. So, you know, we had that's when I had my daughter, which was maybe like 3 months old at the time.
It's got to be cheaper where you live compared to up there, right?
It is. Yeah, it is. And so we were like, we could get a better house down here than up there. And so we're like, okay, cool. We'll get a house. And then, you know, grandma will be able to live with the granddaughter and be with her all the time. And they could spend time together and stuff like that. So
grandma's not alone.
Yeah. And it just synced up how it was. And we're like, okay. So then I moved down here. And I was like, okay, up there, the family business, we did air ventilation cleaning. So we did, you know, HVAC cleaning, but we did commercial and industrial stuff. We didn't do houses. You know, my dad still runs the business and my younger brother runs it and stuff. So that's still going on up there. But like we would do commercial stuff, refineries, office buildings, the post office stuff. We didn't do homes. But when I came down here, like I don't want to do that anymore. I did it since I was 18 years old, right out of high school. Yeah. And I was like, all right. So so at the time I was training to be a firefighter, and I was passing the firefighting test. I'm probably in the best shape I ever was in my freaking life. And I just happened to go in the store, and it's like, hey, listen, I live in the area. Like, are you guys hiring? And he's like, why don't you come in tomorrow, and I'll have you fill out a form, and then why don't you work here for the week and let me know if you like it or not. And I was like, okay, cool. So I came in there and worked for a week. He's like, cool, man, you're hired. So then I was working there part-time, still trying to do the firefighting thing. I mean, by this time I'm like, I'm almost 40 years old. So I'm not from the area. Like, I don't think they wanted to hire a 40-year-old firefighter.
You got to be like 22 years old. Yeah.
Something like that. But down here, you don't age. Yeah, well, here you don't need what's nice, you don't need a degree or anything. Like if you pass the test, they'll train you. They'll do everything, you know. So it's like, okay, so I passed the test like 3 times. And then but I still was working over there. Then we became buddies. Then he made me a manager, and then he asked me if hey, you want to be partners? And I was like, cool, man, yeah. So then we became partners, and so we're co-owners of the store. Ironically, a couple of days before I walked through the door to ask for a job, he was talking to his wife. And he was like, that dude that comes and visits, I wish he lived down here because I'd hire him. 3 days later, I walked through the door. And he didn't tell me this later till after, like, I was hired, and he's like, dude, like, you know what? I was about to put an ad out on Facebook to try and hire somebody. And
it's hard to run a business. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like,
especially without a partner,
Yeah. And he was like, I was thinking about you. I was hoping that you lived in the area so I could hire you. And a couple days later, you walked through the freaking door.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that's not meant to be, like,
I was delivering pizza when I was like 18 years old, and I didn't know what to do with my life. I'm like, do I go to college? Do I get like join a trade? You know, what do I do? And I turned 19, and the pizzeria guys was just like, yeah, there's 3 partners, one's leaving. We'll give you his share. He's just leaving. He just can't stand it. So I just got like 15% of the pizzeria, and I went from the delivery guy to one of the owners. You know what I mean? And it was cool, but at the same time, it was like 18-hour days. You know, I was rail thin because there's nothing worse than standing next to a pizza oven in August in New York, just sweating.
Oh yeah.
You know, working. It was, and I didn't know because I was a naive, stupid kid that he's dead now, so whatever. His wife would come in every day after the lunch rush and after the dinner rush. This beautiful blonde woman just come in. And I'm like, this is what you get when you own a pizzeria? You know, she looked like a Playboy model. And come in, take all the money, you know, and I'm thinking she's putting it in the bank. She was putting it up her nose.
Oh, no.
So literally one day, I come walking into work, and Rocco, not even a joke, that was his name, he's got my boss, like, where's the money? Where's the money? And I come walking in. He goes, who's this? He goes, that's just the delivery kid. And he goes, what do you want? I just said, I left my jacket in the back room. And he's like, get out of here. I'm like, okay. So I go into the back where we mixed the dough, and we had tiles, and you couldn't tell, but one of them you could remove, and that's where we kept all the money. So I knew what was happening. So you know, because you know, so and I was like, I got my coat, and I went back the next day. The place was empty. You know, I tried to, you know, what he said, just keep the money. That, you know, you just get out of here. Don't say nothing. Never mention it. Goodbye. It's gone. And that was the end of the pizzeria.
Oh,
so
man. Wow.
So
that was intense pizza.
So I was 19, from the age of 19 to 23, you know, so what do I do? So I started college at like 24, you know, and then I felt like a bum because I started college so late, but I learned how not to run a business.
There you go. Right. Yeah.
All my friends are 21. They're all hooking up with chicks and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I'm waking up in the middle of the night. The dough is rising. The dough is rising. You know.
Yeah. Yep. No, but it happens too. I'm there. I'll be like, oh man, I forgot to like, did I check the back door? Was it locked? Or like,
yeah.
I got that stack of games I need to put out, and man, you know,
cops
I gotta
are
price
calling
it.
me in the middle because I lived around. That's why I got that, because I was a delivery guy, you know. So it was right around the block from my house, you know. So I'm getting calls from the police. Your alarm's going off. You know, I'm the owner now. You know, this is what I got to do. You know, it taught me responsibility. But man, and then when I went out to Albuquerque, you know, they were like, "Can you make pizza?" I was like, "Can I make pizza?" I'm spinning pizza in the air. You know, like, you know, nobody could do that. They actually had the newspapers come down and would take a picture of me, like, we got an Italian from New York who can spin pizza in the air. You know, so I remember I took that newspaper and I started walking out. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to go get a raise at the other pizzerias."
This is my resume right here.
And they turn around, you know, they gave me more money. And yes, I've seen these boards. I don't like that, because then I like the less electronic stuff in my board games as possible, because I don't like, you know, apps in games. With very few exceptions, I want my board games to be old school, tactile, moving thing, or you play video games. You know, I don't really like the hybrids. So I guess he's crazy about my pizzeria story. So anyway, are you now the sole owner of this place?
No, we're still partners.
Okay.
Yeah, we're partners and stuff. And
well, that's important. You got to have a partner that you trust. I was just so naive. And then the second, like I said, there was 3 partners. There was one partner, he just left. So I don't even think I saw him. I heard him. I talked to him on the phone a few times. So I never saw him. So I got his shares, and I got nothing. Luckily, I didn't pay anything into it. And then the second partner, he married this beautiful girl from Hawaii. She looked like the girl from Wayne's World. You know, the Asian girl, Tia Kiera, is that her name? She spit an image of her, and she claimed she dated Charlie Sheen. So, Billy, you better get yourself tested. But anyway, she was from Hawaii, and they had a snowstorm, the first snowstorm that she's ever experienced. And she said, I'm leaving. I'm going back to Hawaii, or you're divorcing me. I'm not living. You know, she was pregnant, walking through slush and everything like that. So he left. So it was just me and the one guy whose wife was snorting all the money. Man. You know, and I didn't know any better. I'm, you know, And then friends will come in and, why can't I get free pizza? I'm like, because we're gonna go out of business. Like my friends were getting mad at me because I wouldn't give them free pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear that. I see that time. My buddy David grew up in the area, so he went to school with a lot of people. So a lot of people come in, it's like, yeah, I know David. Yeah, I know David. Yeah, I know David. And David's like, I don't know that fucking guy.
Yeah, but David's got bills to pay.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like,
David's
oh, I know
got a kid.
David. Like, yeah, expecting to or they'll bring me some old bratty stuff that's dirty, old Nintendo that smells like tobacco and freaking whatever. It's like, yeah, I know David. Like, expecting I'm gonna give him some more to buy it, and I'm like, no, man. Like, I can't take this. This is gross. Like, get this out of here.
Oh, the one story, my pizzeria is my owner. He used to drink, and he would, I would open up and he would close because he had young kids, so he would watch the kids until his wife, and then when she came home, so like I would open up, and then like right before the lunch rush he would start, and then right after the dinner rush I would leave. So he would close, then he would just chug. He was driving home and he crashed into a tree like me, except I wasn't drinking. He hit a tree, and all the guys are like, it's the pizza guy, So the local fire, there was a fire station, like a volunteer fire station, like literally across the street from the pizzeria. They would hang out all the time. So they formed like a circle around him so the police wouldn't come. And they told the police, they saved him from a bad DWI.
Oh, wow.
And he came in the next day, he looked like Frankenstein. They had to shave him. He had stitches in his head and everything. And he told his wife that he got sideswiped because she was like, if you don't stop drinking, the cocaine head says, if you don't stop drinking, I'm going to leave you, take the kid. So he couldn't admit that he was drinking. And since the paperwork, the police report didn't say it, so she, had to believe him. You know what I mean? It's believable that somebody could swipe you off.
Yeah.
So his wife we were all working, and then all the guys from the pizzeria came in. They wanted their free pizza.
The fire department,
you
right?
You got to do the right thing. These guys, they're there all that, and he's just like charging them all because he didn't want to. But I was so mad because I started to say something. He's like, John, shut up. But he could have just said, these are the guys that pulled me out of the car after that guy sideswiped me. You know what I mean? But he got like all funny. So they got pissed, and they told everybody not to go to our pizzeria ever again.
Oh,
and we lost, I'm not even joking, like 75% of our business in one weekend.
Man.
And I'm like, I'm saying his name, but like it doesn't. I'm like, why did you do that? They just wanted a free lunch. I couldn't give them a free lunch, and that you just tell you why. These are the guys that they got me after that. Remember that guy sideswiped me? These were the guys that like whatever.
Yeah.
The wife would have been giving him free lunch, but it was really, really weird. So he moved to North Carolina and became a chef. I hope he's doing okay.
Oh, okay.
Excellent cook, but there you go. They got divorced. The pizzeria closed. They got divorced. I went to UNM. Fun days. My little sister worked for us. She was our delivery boy. Everybody used to call her the pizza chick.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun times, but 19 to 2024. It was a long, hard period of and there was a comic book store right across the street. There's the fire department over there. We had a cast of characters. It was a fun thing to do, but man, all my friends were like going out to bars and drinking, and I'm like waking up at like 11 o'clock at night because I need to go to sleep to wake up in the morning going, oh my God, did I shut the door? Is the pizza dough gonna rise? Because you go in there the next day, and if the pizza door, it's not shut, it rises too much, and there's tins, and it just makes oh my God, you know what I mean? This is what I'm dealing with in the middle of. So do you have any crazy stories? Have you ever been robbed or anything like that?
No, not that I don't think so. We're living in Chicago. We used to this is probably maybe when I was like 11 years old. Every Friday we'd go to get pizza and rent movies. And when my mom was pregnant with my little sister, we're pulling out of the drive. Our neighborhood was a shitty neighborhood. So we're pulling out, and like some guy walks in front of the car, and my mom's like looking at him, and I can't see him, and I think he's some homeless dude. Like maybe he wants some change or something. And she's like, no. And then she's like, F you. And then she honks the horn because my dad was sleeping inside because my dad worked nights, doing duct cleaning and stuff.
Yeah.
He was working for a big company, but then he left because they didn't want to promote him. So then he was doing all the accounts that were doing like all the hood cleaning, all like the kitchen grease exhaust
Yeah, you
cleaning and
can't do
stuff.
that during the day. You got to do that at night when the rest are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He took all those accounts with him because he was the guy who did it.
Yeah, he was
And
the
then he
face.
just went, so he just went to him and they're like, yeah, man, you'll grease masters, you're gonna clean my thing. So he would always work at night. So he was inside sleeping. We're gonna go rent a movie. This guy's pointing a gun at my mom. He wanted the car.
Oh my God.
My mom told him to pretty much F off, honks the horn. The guy turns around, starts running. She pulls out and then starts barreling down the alley, trying to catch up to him so she could hit him with the car.
Good for your mom.
Luckily he ducked down someplace and then she circled 3 times trying to find his ass so she could hit him with the car.
Good for your mom.
Yeah, I was like, just give him some change, mom. I'm like, well, it's like, no, I guess he wanted, I guess he wanted the car. My mom was like, pregnant with my little sister, just being like, nobody. You ain't
I remember, driving in Albuquerque, you drove your gun right on your dashboard. You know what I mean? Your gun was right there. This is the Southwest, and I just remember my girlfriend at the time was telling me the story. Like she was abducted when she was 16. I don't want to go into all the details, but it made like national news and everything. Like, so she got me paranoid about like, locking the door. So of course I'm driving and I didn't even think about it. So I'm sitting at a red light. All of a sudden my door opens and this guy just gets in my car and sits down. And I just like it happened so fast. And he was, I don't know, like some hippie. He looked like Jesus, and he just goes, yo, dude. And I just get the F out of my car. And he goes, it's cool. And he got out of the car. And I just was like, that was the craziest situation. Like Jesus just got in my car and I chased him out. Like it happened so fast. I couldn't, but like, my ex-girlfriend told me this story, like literally like 3 or 4 days beforehand. So, she's like, you got to keep your gun here because she became a survivalist after this. She was very interesting. She lived in the woods in a tent. She chopped trees for, because she was like, she got like traumatic stress disorder from what happened to her. She didn't trust anybody, she got this big, basically like a German Shepherd with like a wolf lineage.
Oh, jeez.
And you could, I was her boyfriend. I couldn't get near her. The dog, you know what I mean? So she knew martial arts. She would break down her guns. And then when she had her kid later on, she would do like fire drills. She became like a real honest to God survivalist. So she's telling me these stories of what you do if somebody gets in your car. I'm like, I can tell you stories about her. She's funny.
It was like this Jesus ain't coming back after I use this thing on his ass.
I fell asleep at an IIT in between day and night classes, or I guess college, and got my phone jacked once. Other than that, never been robbed in Chicago. Had 3 peeps try though, but always was able to get. Yeah, I the only time that guy getting in my car was pretty freaky. The only time I was actually scared to the point where like I stopped was in San Francisco. I went to go visit a buddy in San Francisco, and like, yeah, we'll walk. I don't know, just like listen to your instincts. But like there was like people taking craps in the street, and it was absolutely disgusting. And then like I just saw the people like they got up and they looked at us. Yeah. They started coming. I was like, let's get out of here. I'm not standing here to wait. So we turned around and left. But I mean, I worked in Manhattan. I worked overnights, and I worked in like the underground in the subways in Manhattan, where there's like homeless enclaves, and the homeless, they know you're just a worker. They know you don't, they leave you alone. But like, that was the only time I was like, this is going to end badly if we don't leave, not Albuquerque. This was before Breaking Bad. So there wasn't really that much gang violence. Now it's like cool to be gang violence.
Yeah, we've done tons of like being downtown Chicago, doing an office building or cleaning the hood at some kind of 5-star restaurant, and you're parked in the hallway and not getting out there till like 2-3 in the morning. Man, it's like pitch black. You're like, you do have spots like that, but we never were harassed too much. I know my brother went to do like a residential someplace. I think it might have been in like Gary, Indiana. and it was like some kind of restoration company. And as soon as they parked, like everybody came out, like everybody, and it was a shitty neighborhood, and everybody came out and was like looking at the truck, and then cars kept like driving by the truck. So they were trying to leave. So like one of the guys was like by the truck. I was like, dude, like we're trying to set up, but man, people keep coming and looking, scoping the truck out, like
Yeah.
you're scoping the work van out. So then there's like it was like an hour of that, and then you couldn't get any work done. So they're like, all right, listen, like, yeah, we're not gonna we're gonna break it down. We're gonna and my brother, my older brother, he's a veteran, and he got that, like he's like, we need to get out of
He
here.
had that situational awareness alert.
He did, yeah. He was like, I don't like this. He was, I mean, he was stationed on the DMZ in Korea, so like he's like, yeah, man, we should get out of here. And the customer called and was super pissed at him. He's like, you know what, man? Sorry, find somebody else to do it because we're not going back. That's the one thing about being a family business and being one of the owners, is that, oh, you want to go back? Hell no, man. I was like, all right. Yeah, we're not going back.
You were the fourth guy I called.
Well, he's like, well, what do you mean? Like, you can say, sorry, man. Like, I'm not going to go. And we cut your, we cut your break on the price because you were, a new customer and you were promising us all this work. And then the first job you give us is this shit job that probably nobody else wants to do. We're like, no, man, we're good. We'll just go do Pepperidge Farm like this.
During COVID, I was working on the George Washington Bridge, and it was a 3-man crew, and so like, it was just us 3 guys together, nobody on the road. It was a great commute, and we had like a little shanty underneath the bridge with a porta potty and everything like that. And the cops used to come and use our porta potty. We had keys, but we gave the cops the keys too, and so they were buddies with us. They would watch our cars and everything, so nobody would break into our cars, and they would see us working.
Mm-hmm.
They would, just turn the lights on every once in a while. But when you're on the bridge itself, the regular cops can't do anything about it. It's the Port Authority, So like, the regular Bronx cops didn't, or Manhattan cops rather, didn't do anything. So I'll just never forget, we were the underside of the bridge because it was raining out. Like if it was not raining, we would work with the sky, but it was bad weather. So just torrents of water. But one of us is up in the bucket, pulling the wire. And we had a 4th guy with us who was an old timer who he's just filling out. He's got like a couple of weeks left before he retires, So I'm on the ground setting up the wire reels, and he's just like, what do we do? I'm like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. It's you're gonna get hurt or whatever. You retire. And he's like, nah, I did 42 years. So like he's feeding me the water, which doesn't need to be. And a car pulls over and just goes, hey, old timer. And I'm like, don't. And he turns around, hey, what? And he throws something and hits him right in the face. And he's like, oh God. And we go, stop. It's COVID, so there's nobody on the road. The guy pulls off. It was a big black rubber dildo. And it was just like the worst, just a poor old guy, you know what I mean? And he's just like, I'm going to sit in the truck. It just demoralized him. 42 years of service, nobody, we couldn't do anything. What could you do? The cops weren't there. The Port Authority, you can't call. They're already, we were probably recorded. So the Port Authority's probably laughing.
Yeah.
But it was just, I'll never forget that. I haven't seen the guy since, he retired, and it was like, what a way to go. 42 years of working, and he just I'll never,
I should have listened.
Like if I had rocket boots, I would have, blown up that car or something. It was just the only thing I did was I took a picture of it,
Yeah, what can you do? This is the assault weapon.
There you go. That's the weird story of the
poor guy.
Poor guy.
It's not you could maybe I don't even know, man. You can't. It's not a story you can tell.
Right. That's
you really can't tell that
story.
Yeah, like but I mean, him. It's not like it's something that. Oh, let me tell you this crazy story where I was hit in the face with a black dildo. It's something he would never want to tell anyway. So he just has to hold it inside now.
I remember he was 62. We have a porta potty, and he goes into the porta potty, and he comes out and just goes, 62 years old. Look at me. I'm still shitting in a box. So he could not wait to be done. He's already selling his house. He's buying property in Florida. We were like, just sit in the freaking truck, just because there was no dividing lines. There's like, you're gonna get, this is like a movie. The old guy who's just about to retire, he's gonna get hit by, because it was COVID, so there was nobody on the bridge, and we used to complain, like, we need the Port Authority to be our escort because cars were just whipping by. And I have to admit, before I did this road construction, I would whip by the guys. Now, now I see road construction, I slow down because it's freaking terrifying.
Yeah.
You drop your screwdriver, it rolls into traffic. You're just like, these guys, it's bad. Or worse, I heard one of the guys hit the back of, not in my crew, but it happened while in my company. A car whipped by, hit the back of the bucket truck, and then the bucket truck swings and it moved into oncoming traffic, and then that guy got plowed by a truck, which flings him. You know what I mean? It's all because somebody's whipping by. So give the construction workers a break.
Yeah. Pay attention to when you're driving too.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
I find that all the time. Like, if you're driving at night, like, turn your fucking lights on. Like, I'm just, maybe it's down here, dude, but I'm just like, what?
If it wasn't COVID, it wouldn't have been that bad because it probably would have been bumper to bumper traffic. But it's just that it was the lockdown. So it was like people were just taking advantage. How often could you be on the George Washington Bridge with no traffic? At 4:00 in the morning, boom! It was like Ghost Rider drove by. I wish I had an egg. But it happened so fast. I'm looking over here, and we're like, don't look, don't. They're gonna mess with us. They're gonna mess with us. Because we had guys that just threw beers at us. You know what I mean? Like, now I stink like beer for the rest of the night. You know what I mean? You're going home. I'm working nights. I'm going 5 o'clock in the morning. I stink like beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Explain that to your wife.
Exactly. Why you smell like beer?
Luckily, my wife knows I don't drink it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
She's like, go shower. Get gross. You never know where that beer's been. You hope it's just beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude.
So I wasted your time not talking about your comic book for an hour.
I'm having a great time. I know what you're talking about. Good. We live. I guess we're streaming. Like, this is just a great conversation. I'm having a good time.
Not to toot my horn, but that's why I say I do conversations with people. I don't do interviews. I just like to talk and see where it goes.
Yeah.
I whatever stupid nonsense. And plus, I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl who doesn't have to go to work in the morning. So
there you go.
This is prime nonsense time.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, it's an hour and a half. Do you have any place to go? I got no place. I'll talk as long or as little as you want, whatever you want.
I got no place. I'm already home. This is the place I needed to be.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
Anybody? We got 62 people watching. Anybody want to throw? Yeah, anybody? Oh, yeah, that's right. You don't know the numbers on StreamYard. Yeah, we got 62 people watching.
Give me the questions.
Through X, through Facebook, through Yahoo. So who knows?
There we go.
Is anybody a guy who runs a game store? A guy used to do everything.
Yeah. Was it jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, like people could come in and play games. So what is popular right now? I don't know anything about video games. I know that if I got into video games, I would get divorced. I would lose my house. Like I wouldn't make a comic. I wouldn't do anything. So I won't play them.
A lot of our clientele is a lot of regulars and a lot of families. A lot of families come in, and a lot of times it's they have young ones, and maybe they want to play the stuff that they grew up as a kid and share it with their kids. So let's say somebody grew up with like playing like original Nintendo, like OG Nintendo. They'll come in and looking for a Nintendo so they can play with their 5 and 6 year old. So it's a lot of that. Collectors do come in if people are into collecting like video games and stuff like that.
I imagine I've seen people like, you know what CGC in a comic book is, right? When you slab. I've seen people now slabbing video game cartridges. And
stuff. It's
a
new thing.
You can slab anything.
Yeah, it's a new thing. Now it's like
muralist. I saw you on EVS, I think first time. I'm painting old maps tonight. Wow. What do you mean you're painting old maps? That sounds fascinating. Could you give me more information on that?
Yeah.
Like, are you making up fantasy maps and painting them, or are you taking like maps of like old Charleston and painting? That sounds
yeah.
Muralist.
So yeah, a lot of our clientele is like families, or like, let's say they had a Wii and now they have little ones and they want to play games with the little ones, so they'll buy a Wii because it's the last thing that they had
And they'll
fun
play
with.
at the store or they'll rent it and take it home.
Oh no, they just buy it. I also
Oh,
have a room that you could come in and play games too. I got we call it the rental room. I got 3 TVs, maybe like 20 consoles hooked up to them, and they could come in and rent the room for $5 per person per hour, and they could play anything in the store. And I got a bunch of games in the back that are really popular that people can play that usually sell out. I usually try and keep a copy of those so people can come in and play. Or you could just come in and buy a Nintendo, buy a Sega Genesis, buy a Game Boy, and buy the games. So I have
I guess,
all that stuff.
and you have to play these games so you can answer questions and drum up interest. So you
Yeah, I
got
mean,
the
a
best
lot of it.
excuse in the world. I'm
Yeah,
doing work.
a lot of a lot of it is useless knowledge that I've acquired over the years just by playing games. To be honest,
Yeah,
but when
I
we're
remember
there,
there was an old Far Side comic where like the guy was just like goofing around, like, "Hey, look, we found a job for the sun," and it's just like, could you kill Goombas? Like it was all Mario Brothers. Like, can you kill a Goomba I wanted? Look, we finally found the job for Junior, and this little kid, you got that job. Good for you. In 1847, 2 guys went to rural area of Ohio, I can't even read, and mapped the 2,000-year-old Indian earthworks. I'm taking their old engravings and wow,
it sounds cool.
that sounds cool.
Where
I'd
can we
like,
see this?
yeah, no, send pictures. That sounds
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
are you on socials? Are you
yeah,
are you on some kind of Instagram or something where you can post, or YouTube, and
yeah.
maybe we could see it?
I'll put my Twitter name. I would love to see those pictures.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So
Uh,
yeah, a lot of it's families or collectors. We do get some rare games in, and people bring me their old stuff, and I buy it. What's been really popular is Blu-rays and DVDs. Physical media is coming back.
yes, I'm so glad you said that.
Mhm.
Who was I just talking to about physical media? But like I heard, well, what was his name? The Quartering, I think his name is.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
He was really big into Magic, but he played online, and then he said something that wasn't too popular politically,
Mhm.
and they turned off his cards, cards that he paid for, so he paid
Jeez.
and he lost all of his Magic stuff that he legit paid real money for.
Mhm. Same thing
So
with games. So the
yeah,
same thing happens. You have a company puts out a game. Maybe it's a licensed game. Let's just say like Ninja Turtles or something. They put out a game. They put it out digitally, maybe. Or the same thing actually happened with the Deadpool game. They had the Deadpool game. Like it was like on Xbox and PlayStation and stuff. Even on like the newer consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, and they had it on there. And then, but something happened to the rights with the developers, and when they got passed over to Marvel, or Marvel got the rights to Sony or Fox for Fox or whatever, right? They pulled the game from the store, so you can't buy it. Now, if you download it, you still have it, unless something happens to that console, and then you might not be able to download it again. But if you want to play it now, the only way to play it is physical. You got to buy a physical disc. There's no
yeah,
other way to play it, unless you know like hacking or emulation or something like that, which
yeah.
I'm sure is possible. But I have had like since the movie came out, I have like 5 people looking for that Deadpool game. I was like, I don't have a copy because
I,
it goes
I
real
still
quick.
buy vinyl because I want to
Yeah.
listen to,
Vinyl's popular too. Vinyl's popular.
you know,
Young people are getting into vinyl. Young people. So I feel like now what I'm seeing is that there was a generation that really embraced the digital stuff, which is cool. But now you have the generation that's after them, the kids that are in high school, like middle school, high school, and are going to college. They want their physical media. They want their vinyl records. They want their movies. They want to own it. They want they're keeping their old games. They're keeping their Pokemon games. They're not selling them to me. They're just keeping them because they want to play them later. And they
you know,
have this appreciation, and a lot of it probably comes from YouTube, is for the old media and the history of the video games and the music and all that stuff now. So people will go on YouTube, hear about a game, and even if the game's crappy, they're like, "Oh, I heard this game's terrible." It's a $5 game. They'll buy it so they can play it, and get their $5 worth out of it and make fun of it, But
I like
the
my
new
physical
generation, the new generation is physical. They want their cards. They want to hold their Pokemon cards, their
yeah,
Magic cards. They want to hold them. They want to play games with the little figures. They want tactile,
yeah.
physical stuff is what they want.
I
And
had a
so
boss who swore the vinyl reproduced sound more fully than CD. I'm starting to think this is my response to that is it depends on the equipment. If you have shit equipment and a terrible needle and bad speakers, that goes without saying. So if you buy top of the quality and then you compare, CD is digital. So like music, if you're playing a violin or guitar, you get a sound wave, in a wave. But digital will take that sound wave and digitalize it. So you will lose tiny little nuances. Now you really got to have a good ear. I think all my years in construction, I probably can't hear the difference. So, if you get like a real good ear, or if you're a musician, I think because the way vinyl works, it's analog. So you could hear the music, the sound wave, make the dips and things like that. Whereas a digital, it's, it cuts off that little curve and so, but me, I really don't think I hear the difference. I have the Doors Soft Parade on vinyl, and I have the Doors Soft Parade on CD. The CD sounded so much better, but I think I need a new needle. God knows, because my needle has been in storage since 1993. I don't remember when I bought it, so my needle could be 30 years old. So maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, but even like CDs too. CDs sound way better than if you're streaming your music, because that stuff's all compressed now.
Yeah, I have a room upstairs just filled with CDs. And right in front of me, it's all analog vinyl albums, physical media. Yeah, and my wife is big on owning her movies.
Yeah, VHS is coming back too. Mark my words, in about 2 years, it's going to be the thing to start collecting, because they're so cheap now. They're so cheap now, and even there's a crossover between the VHS market and the retro gaming market, because if you play Nintendo, like old school Nintendo and Sega and even 64 and like the first PlayStation, a lot of that stuff was made with the old CRT TVs in mind. So they were made for that. So those consoles look the best on those TV, because they used the tube of the TV to blend the pixels together. So it made stuff look round instead of super sharp. The colors are more vibrant, and there's no lag when you're playing a game on a CRTV and to oppose playing it on like a HDMI TV. So like if you grab a Nintendo and you hook it up to this one of these TVs behind me, it's going to look like butt.
Really?
Yeah. But if you hook it up to one of those guys, that sucker right there, it's going to look great.
See, I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah, because they were made. So now so you have retro gamers that have CRT TVs, because they're a dime a dozen right now, but the prices are going up. Because people are realizing that you could sell them, good ones, for $200 now. But if you could find an old CRT TV for $25, you're golden. And so you have collectors that have a Nintendo, right? And then what's the next thing? Well, I'll get a VHS player, and yeah, I'll buy that old movie. I went to Goodwill and I found I found my favorite VHS movie for 50 cents.
Gremlins 2, something that they made a million of them. Yeah.
Or like, oh yeah, like it was my wife's birthday. She loves DuckTales. I just happened to go to Goodwill, found the DuckTales movie, The Treasure of the Lost Lamp, on VHS. I'm like, I have a VHS player. 50 cents.
Under the TV, we have, it's a DVD player and a VHS player. Yeah. I wonder if it still works. That would be funny, because I don't know where I joked that I moved out to the country, but sometimes there's deer and wild turkeys out in the streets by me, but there's retro places. And it's really good, because they'll have old comics, they'll have old toys, vinyl, but they got a lot of VHS. So now I'm curious to see. I never looked through it.
And another thing too is that, widescreen's always cool. DVDs are always cool. When you start getting into like the Blu-ray and 4K, maybe even now with the 4K and stuff, I feel like there's a reason they keep remastering and remaking stuff, is they're going to change stuff. Right. Just like they did with Star Wars. And I feel like just like they're going to start doing with these remakes, is they're trying to erase like the past and the stuff that came before and make everything with modern sensibilities. Yep. They're releasing Gone with the Wind in 4K, but they're going to edit it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, well, that's not the original art. Nobody's grabbing Picasso's stuff and redrawing it and saying this is Picasso. That's what they're going to start doing. That's why I feel they're going to start doing it in media.
I believe that.
So people want the original, like Batman on VHS, and then you put it in, and then you're like, oh, that was. I remember seeing the Bugs Bunny and Donald Duck ad for the Warner Brothers the Warner Brothers catalog to order the Batman out, the Batman hats and the shirts and stuff that played before the movie. Well, it's on the VHS.
Right.
So people want those ads and those old trailers too that they saw and remember seeing and growing up when they were kids, and then okay, you're 50 cents and you bought a copy of Batman. You can't beat it, even if you watch it once, you're like, oh, cool. I remember watching that when I was a kid,
That's one of the reasons why I really don't like CGC in comics.
Yeah.
Because you're losing the ads. You're losing the letters page. You're losing the Boltons. You're losing the Stan soapbox, and then those Fun Factory ads and the Charles Atlas ads, and Count Dante. To me, that's all part of comics.
Count
and then you're like, yeah, well, I bought a reprint, or the trade paperback. Yeah, but you don't get the letter from Phil Moskowitz.
The only thing I see that I kind of agree with the CGC book stuff is if they're old and for preservation reasons.
Well,
like that's the only thing I could kind of see, like, all right, this is an old copy, it's falling apart, or it's a good pristine. But a game, like a copy of Super Mario Brothers, like, dude, like, oh, this copy was $1 million because it was in the box. I got 30 copies of Super Mario Brothers. If you want to play it for $10, you could just come buy it. Like, it's not the box, it's the game. So what makes it cool, you know what I mean? And it's a cartridge. The thing's probably gonna last for another 50 freaking years. They came out in 82. Atari came out in like 77. They still work. So I can understand the book because the paper and stuff was fragile, and I can understand that.
I on my channel on Sunday Comics, I try to take out older comics and show them. Like I showed my Fantastic Four #1, and one of the comments is like, "Is that the real?" Yeah. The guy's like, "Oh my God, you're nuts," But like, it's not like I won't take out Fantastic Four #1 in the middle of a party and show people. I'll take it. I put it here. My hands are clean. Nobody else touches it but me. X-Men #1. But I maybe I'm being stupid, but I think I'm providing a service. And some people have said I've never legit saw the inside of they liked that they saw the ads, they saw the original colors, because Fantastic Four #1, you probably saw it reprinted on better quality paper, with the more vibrant colors.
There's also like, same thing with like putting a record on or like grabbing a Nintendo game or something, putting it. You get to handle it. You get the smell of the paper. There's the whole experience of you taking it out, putting it back in. Same thing. You go to your shelf. You grab the vinyl record on. Maybe you wipe it. You put it on. You put the needle on. You listen to the whole album. Then you flip it over. You listen to the same thing. Like I got, I'm a collector too with video games. So I got like some $300, $500 games, and I love to. And there's some of my favorite ones too. So I'll pull them out and same thing. Put it in. All right, today we're gonna play something on the Dreamcast. All right, cool. Boom, put it in there, and it's like you got the original controller you're playing with. You put it in like when you were a kid. There's a whole like experience. Yeah, a ritual. A whole ritual to do it. And the same thing with like I understand. Like if you, I get like wanting to touch and it's the only thing I could sympathize with the CGC is to preserve a copy of something, but.
I know I'm a hypocrite because when it comes time to sell my comics, it really would, because you can't take it with you. When I retire, I'm like, what, 3 years away from retirement, but I just got a 30-year mortgage. So I'm going to have to do something when I either sell this house and move or sell my comics and pay off the house. I probably get my Fantastic Four CGC because it's literally the difference between a $6,000 comic and a $35,000 comic. You know what I mean? So, and part of me is just like, yeah, I'm a whore, but I'm a whore who doesn't have a mortgage anymore.
Yeah. It's one of those things too. It's like once something hits so high, you're like, well, I enjoyed it this long.
Right.
It would be nice not to have this mortgage payment anymore.
Great Gold Worm. Do I have an Action Comics #1? If I had a comic book that was worth between $1 million and $2 million, I would not have it, and I would have no bills, and I would have early retirement. There is nothing that I have that is worth so much that I'm going to go back to work, jump in a mud pit. There's a picture of me online. I was out for hernia surgery in February. The day I went back to work, they threw me in a pit because the job site was flooded, and I was in the bottom of this pit digging the mud out so we could run a pipe. I snapped a picture, like, you know, and somebody said I wasn't tough. I'd like to see you do this. The person who said I wasn't tough. I'd like to see you do what I do for a week. I'm guessing about John's age. When I was a kid, I visited my great grandma and got to read my mom's old 50s. Yeah, that is awesome. Where are all those comics? Where are all those comics? My father told me a story. Like, he said he had Superman #1, but I'm sure he meant Action Comics #1. You know what I mean? Maybe he bought both, but everybody said they had it. But my father said Uncle Frank was Superman because he was the oldest. He goes, and I got to be the cowboy because I was the second oldest. So Uncle Johnny had to be the detective. And I'm thinking, he probably had Action Comics #1, because how many people know that there was a cowboy story, you know, and a detective story along with the Superman story? You know, everybody knows. So maybe you probably did have it. You know, my dad was born in 1932, you know, in 1939, he was 7 years old. He probably had Action Comics #1. And like everybody else, they gave it away. They put it in a box. That box was community property, you know.
That's one thing that my dad always did, is he always would pack stuff away. And he's like, oh, they're not playing
That's
that.
what I do, you know,
They're not playing that Xbox. Hey, I'm just going to pack it away. And he would just pack it away. You done with that? Okay. And he'd just pack it away and just put it in the attic or put it in the crawl space and stuff. And he always, but the one thing we never were like, you know, talking about in terms of like, he never would get rid of. And if he asked me, should I sell these comics? I'm like, no. Even when I wasn't reading them at the time, I was like, nope, keep the comics. Eventually I'm going to have my kid read them. You know, we're going to hang on to them because it's a lot of like memories of us going to the store. I remember when we went and we first saw like Sam Keith's Wolverine on Marvel Comics Presents. We're like, oh, this is great. Like, oh man. And then we bought all of them till like all of a sudden he stopped drawing the inside. And then we're like, oh man, but we didn't know till after we bought the comic and took it home. We're like, what happened? What? Yeah. Oh, look, it's a McFarlane drawing the X-Men. You open it upside. That's not McFarlane drawing the X-Men inside. He just did the cover. We're like, oh no.
I still remember that. Like like Marvel 2-in-1 Annual #2 or something like that. Like, I remember going to the 7-Eleven. We were driving to one of my dad's coworkers, so it was a place that we don't normally go to. You know what I mean? And my father said, "Get him a comic. He'll be quiet." You know, my mom. You know, it was a 75-cent comic book. Oh my God, that was twice the price. It was an annual. And lo and behold, I remember we went. You know, I had to be good. This wasn't a typical guy that we hang out with, and I sat there reading that comic. I'll never get rid of it. I still have that particular issue. You know?
Yeah, I still have my Ninja Turtles, my Archie Ninja Turtles with the cover falling off of, you know, the first one. And anybody in the chat who grew up reading the Archie ones, it was the first one where they go to another planet and they're rustling on the other planet and they all get different outfits. And Raphael puts on this all black. He's like all black, like an all black outfit, but he still looks like Raphael. And yeah, it was like the coolest thing I ever seen. They fought like some big bulldog guy that had 4 arms. It was so cool. I still have it. The cover's falling off. I actually brought it back when I visited my parents in the summer. I said, I'm taking these 2 boxes with me. And we drove. So I had to like fit. So I was like, okay. So I started grabbing everything. So I was like, all the Sam Keith, all the Marvel Comics Presents came with me. I remember we collected some of the Captain Americas, but not really. But I took all, like, I remember reading the Bloodstone Hunt Captain America with like Diamondback and Crossbones. And I took all of those with me. Like, I was like, the Daredevils, like, oh, I remember these Daredevils. I took those with me. The stuff I remember reading as a kid. And so now I have all that stuff with me, and it's all beat to crap, you know, but it's just like, it's great.
Like this comics, like I always bring this up, like Avengers 165. I can almost recite that comic to you. You know, I could describe the panels from memory, you know, and I could close my eyes and it becomes almost a movie, you know, because the storytelling was so good from panel to panel. You know, I'll never get rid of it. Matter of fact, I bought a second copy because the copy that I bought is so beat up. You know, like I did it on Sunday Comics. I was like, I can't have this in my collection. I got to have it's only an $8 comic. It's not even like it's worth a lot of money, but and then it was like, this was before comic book stores, so I never got the sequel to it. 166. Like it took like 2 or 3 years, and I remember that 2 or 3 years might as well have been 20 years before I saw how they finally defeated Count Nefaria. You know, it was exciting. It was, you know, the last panel was Thor throwing a hammer, like, so in my mind that's how it ended, because
it's over. This guy's dead.
They were like story,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the shot. Yeah, comics were so exciting. Like
Yeah.
and it's funny because I did get teased for reading comics at the time, but now as an adult, even the people who weren't into comics, like, yeah, comics are fun.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think even the people that kind of teased you, I think they teased you because they didn't want other people to know that they liked comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's just something that they maybe thought they were supposed to do.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I find myself now, like growing up, like I when I was collecting comics, it was like the area, it was like the mid 90s. So we had like Spider-Man, and then like Venom was big. Venom came out, and then Carnage, and then it was like then the Image stuff happened, and like that was all the stuff that was cool. So nothing was like the old classic stuff at the time. This when everybody was like, let's redesign Wonder Woman, let's redesign Dr. Fate, let's redesign like everybody. And that's when they were doing everybody was trying to do like Image stuff at the time. So I didn't like grow up with a lot of the classic stuff. So now I find myself missing out and enjoying more of that classic stuff, but not necessarily like the Marvel stuff. Um, like I missed out on Madman. Like I would see Madman, like Mike Allred's Madman, like in Wizard all the time, and I never bought it because it didn't interest me at the time. And then I'm looking at the stuff now. I'm like, this is amazing.
I love Mark.
Like
He's one of my favorite. Yeah,
dude, I hated Hellboy. I hated what it looked like because Jim Lee at the time, Jim Lee was the guy.
right.
Like everything
Mike
looked like Jim
Mignola.
Lee and Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson. That was like the style. And now I'm like, this is so damn.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. I remember being in a comic book store, and this guy was like getting into comics. He was all excited, and I wasn't working at the store. I was just a customer that came in all the time. So the owner said, "This guy knows his comics." And he goes, "What's your favorite comic?" And I said, "Hellboy." And he goes, "Oh, what's it about?" I'm like, "He's a demon from hell." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I gave him, and he looked at the art, and he goes, "This is the worst art I've ever seen." And like, totally dismissed everything. I realized I should have steered him more towards Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee. That's what
But even now, looking at that stuff too, like I 2 years ago, I went and I was like, oh well, let me get like the first couple issues of like Wildcats and like Gen 13 and like that stuff. I'm trying to think. I got something else too. I bought a Steel. They had X-Force #1 or whatever. They had the trading card inside Steel. They had a bunch of Steel. They had a bunch of those. So I bought one of those too just to have one. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, and I'm reading Wildcats #1. I'm reading #2. I'm like, man, they are giving you exposition that they have not earned at all. I'm like, this is boring. Like, I'm like, what is, dude, like trying to cram like a whole arc of the freaking X-Men in like one comic. Like all of a sudden there's like a midget bum in the street and then a stripper lady. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, oh my God.
Well, Image Comics was perfectly named. It was Image. They didn't like they wooed their writers later, but like when Image Comics came out, I remember going like, I don't like them. But I was afraid, like, am I going to get teased?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember like I bought Supreme, the first couple of issues of Supreme. Like, this is awful. This is just so bad. The only one that I liked was Gen 13 had some pretty good writing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like Wildcats made no sense to me. Youngblood was almost like each page had no continuity to the next page. I just didn't like them. And I remember like to the comic book store, I'm like, I don't like these Image comics. And he went, oh, good, somebody recognizes, but he couldn't talk bad about it because that was his bread and butter.
Yeah, it's good. Like I think you made a comment of something, and I agreed with you on Twitter when it was like, I'm like, everybody's saying this stuff is cool, and I don't think it is. And I'm like, am I going crazy? Like, am I? And then you're like, you said it, and I was like, okay, I'm not the only one who feels this way. Great.
I didn't like ISOM #1, and everybody was raving about it at the time, and I kept myself quiet. And I'm not turning into one of these trash talking guys.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the comic.
Yeah.
So and somebody said it was a masterpiece and the art was awesome. So I'm like, okay, I'll get it. But like I had reservations. I should have trusted my instincts. So I was like, I'll get #2. And then all of a sudden became cool to talk about how bad it was. But I was relieved. I was like, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah, I'm not just going crazy. Yeah. I read ISOM #1 and I was like, I mean, I didn't pay for it, but I read it and I was like, good thing I didn't pay for this because holy mackerel.
I paid for it. I paid for 1 and 2. You know,
Yeah,
but
it's
there's a lot of you know, but you know, again, I
and I'm
don't
like,
want
okay. Yeah, it's like,
Supreme becomes an
okay, I'm
yeah,
not the crazy one.
Supreme becomes an amazing comic in issue 41, the story of the year by Alan Moore. Yes, I have to say that once they got a writer for
Mhm.
Supreme, it became one of the best comics. And I will say, track down the Alan Moore Supremes. I don't
Okay.
know what Liefeld did to get Alan Moore to, because he wrote Wildcats. That was amazing.
Hmm.
Uh, so all of those Image comics became so good. To one point, Image was the best comic company, and and they had the same artists, but it was that they wooed some good writers.
Hmm.
You know, I'm going to say like the late '90s, like around '99 to like 2005, Image was putting out
Oh wow.
some
Okay.
really, really good comics.
That's probably right when I got out of it. The Clone Saga killed it for me. I was like, I don't know what's happening, man.
Like
I'm buying every
I did
Spider-Man
with
book.
Comic Gear, they told me that it wasn't worth getting. Oh, I saw him. Okay, okay. I don't want to turn into a
Yeah,
trend.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm
Marcus,
glad. I'm glad some people like it. And credit
yeah,
to
yeah.
Eric
I
July. Credit to
Hey,
him for
rising
putting
tide
his.
floats all boats.
Yeah,
Whatever,
yeah.
comics are dying, and whatever gets people interested in
Hmm.
comics, whatever.
And
I don't like Marvel, but I wish they would do a heel turn and restore. Are you talking the actual Matt Dillon, the actor? You went to school with Matt Dillon? Is that, or is it just a kid named Matt Dillon?
It's the guy. Let's go kick his ass. We go
Yeah,
kick Mac. But you know what?
I met
Credit
Matt
to
Dillon. He's tiny.
credit where credit's due, man. Eric July put his money where his mouth is and made a freaking book. You know what I mean? And for that, I'll always respect the guy because he was there's other guys who built channels on just poo pooing on stuff, and they never put their hat in the ring and put their money where their mouth is. And
Well,
like it or not, Eric
he
July
was a
did it.
millionaire. He was a millionaire before he started. So but
Yeah, I mean, he'll have respect for me for actually doing that. Whether if it was any
well,
good or
as a
not,
guy
that's
making
up
a
to you to
comic,
decide.
I understand how difficult it is.
Hmm.
But I just wish he hired an editor and not a yes man. Because
Yeah.
I fancy myself a writer. I'm not a writer until people actually go, "Oh, this is pretty good," or "You suck," whatever.
Yeah.
The cheapest and easiest part about a comic book is the script, and I'm sure Mike Barron somewhere woke up from a dead sleep, but you know what I mean? Like it's just a piece of paper and a pencil, and,
Mhm.
and some time invested. And I could give that to you and I could give that to my wife and it could get checked. But, the art is I think the most labor intensive part,
Mhm.
so I just wish this guy with all these resources, did nobody tell him this makes no sense? Like,
Yeah.
he didn't know to get a guy who reads comic, like a real comic fan? Like, did he say, I'm going to pay you $1,000 to be my editor? And I don't like this. You fired, like
Mhm.
you picture like I'm like I'm trying to think like Jack Nicholson. You get Jack Nicholson in your movie, like you got to do it again. You got to give me another take. I ain't doing shit. And he
Mhm.
walks, so you stuck with that. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
guy had all the resources in the world. To me, like I'm not an artist, so I didn't notice my 3D assets and all that stuff. It's just, dude, this
Mhm.
story was dull.
Yeah.
Did nobody, like, you surrounding yourself with college educated people? Not one of these people said, and that's my big problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I
he was
agree.
already a millionaire. He had all of the resources.
He knew a lot of people. He knew a
Right.
lot of
He was
pros.
doing a lot of shit talking.
Yep.
And
And he
that's
did.
what bothered me about
Yep.
Godlight. When John Malin was saying writers are a dime a dozen, you didn't have anybody to help you out with, because the ideas are good, but the execution was piss poor.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
that
It's
that put me
yeah.
in the shit.
You need people. That's why I honestly I respect you, John, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I sent you a copy of Berserker because I know you're a real comic book guy. You know what I mean? And you're a reader. And if something was like when I tell people when I send them the book, everybody that I sent the book, I was like, tell me what you think about it.
I like this
Y-
comic. Ripperverse improves with every issue. Oh, that's good. That's good. And
Yeah.
this is the way I describe it. Okay, me and you are going out to dinner, right? So me and you sit down at the restaurant and we say, man, I hope this meal is delicious, right? Would it be weird if I sat down at the dinner table and said to you, I hope this dinner sucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Why
the
are
way
we
I look
here?
that's the way I look at every comic. I hope this comic is going to be good. Like, even if I don't like you and if I don't like that, I hope the comic book is good because I like
Mhm.
comic books. It does nobody any good to root for a bad comic. So I hope the comic is good, and then I get disappointed or I get whatever. But to root for a bad comic makes no sense. So I'm rooting for Rippaverse. I'm rooting for John Malin. I'm rooting for everybody. I'm rooting for J-Bot. I want your comic to be good. Whether or not we get along or not is besides the point. So whatever problems with the Rippaverse is, whatever. Good. If the comic books are getting better, good. That's only good thing. And like you said, Stan Lee wasn't that great at the beginning either. The difference between Stan Lee is when people told him that he wasn't bad, he went, yes, true believer, but maybe next issue will get you because I have so many exciting ideas in the future and blah, blah, blah. Like he didn't blame you. He didn't attack you. Yeah. So I'm trying to, because somebody doesn't like me. Somebody's going to hate my comic. Somebody's going to love my comic. So I'm trying to not, this is going to sound like I'm preparing myself to dismiss your comments. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to brace myself for crazy criticism and legit criticism. Like, and I want to take them all with grace. You know what I mean? And learn the wisdom of, okay, this guy's just attacking me. Okay, he could do that. He paid his price. This guy has a legit concern. Thank you for helping me. So you know what I mean? It's going to happen. And what Mr. July should have done was, my enthusiasm got the best of me. Okay, so you didn't like it, but I'm going to improve on issue 2. I'm hiring this. I'm doing this. Stick with us. All right, so I stumbled out the gate, but we are going to work. That's what he should have done. That's what he should have done.
The only part that irks me, and I feel like he's writing it, he's writing the boat or whatever, is that if you had X amount of money, and I'm sure Eric July has X amount of money.
Yeah, he has infinite money as far as I'm concerned. Even you're concerned.
Now let's say, okay, John, you have infinite amount of money. You're doing your book. Who you get? Pros. Who are you going to get to draw your book? Who are you going to get to help you? Mike Barron, Chuck Dixon, all these guys. You have infinite amount of money. You can hire any freaking artist that you want. And then who are you going to hire to do your book? You're going to hire somebody that's a mediocre guy. No. If I can hire Jim Lee and I'm buddies with Jim Lee and Jim Lee's going to draw my book, or Joe, Joe Mad or whatever.
I'm hiring the best that I possibly can because if I could, I'm right now I'm hiring the best that I can afford.
It's kind of like your dream project. If you have the money to make your dream project, make your dream project. That's the issue I have. Right. Is like this is supposed to be your baby. Like, I've been crapping on Marvel, baby, for years. I've been crapping on DC. That's my brand, right? And then I have to put out something that's better. That got to be better than better with the best art and the best writing possible. And I know tons of guys in the industry, and I could pay them to do it. But you don't. Why not?
I like what Paul says. He's going to eat fap this for super chats.
Oh no!
Good. I love when people steal my content and make more money than me. That just makes me feel so good.
There you go. Buy a copy of Berserker, $15 plus $10 shipping.
I will say, nobody wants art or story to film. Some people do. Some people do. Some people think it's what I don't understand it, but some people do. I want everybody's comics to be good.
Yep. The only problem I have is when something's not that good and people praise it like it is good, and you're just like, come on. And then they make excuses. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, just be like, it was okay. I'm going to buy the next one. Just be honest. And don't hate people that don't agree with you. It's okay.
This comic, I'm splitting the difference. Ethan puts out a great comic, but it is late.
Yes.
Eric July puts out, I think, a mediocre comic, but it's on time. So, I wish we could somehow merge the two and get like a really good comic to come out sooner. And I wish they would stop fighting.
Ethan gets a pass from me because he has an audience, and his audience knows what they're getting. They know the book's going to be late. They enjoy the quality. They know what they're getting. It's not a shock.
And it's none of Eric's business either. It doesn't bother his fans. I know. I back his books. I think they're great. I know it's going to take a while. I'm not complaining.
Exactly. You know what you're getting when it comes to EVS. And it's like you have somebody making hamburgers and you have somebody making a steak. You'll wait for the steak, but the hamburgers are supposed to be like this. EVS is making steaks.
A really good point. That's a really
EVS is making.
Why busting nose into somebody else's business when his fans aren't complaining?
Yeah, who cares? It's fine.
That,
Don't
you
worry
know what?
about it. But
You just made an excellent point.
you
Excellent
know,
point.
and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't like all the drama stuff that EVS has been doing.
Yep.
Honestly, I unfollowed the guy.
And
But
I regret.
talent's talent, man.
I
And
regret
the
getting
guy's
involved.
freaking good.
I
And if
regret.
it's
I regret getting involved. I was stupid, and I let my emotions get. And I regret. Nobody wants to.
yeah,
We already saw
you know,
this.
it's
In
yeah. You
Glorious
know what
Rex
you're
2 is
getting.
excellent. I liked Inglorious Rex 2, and I will even agree with Admiral Wackass, whose name is gonna make me giggle sooner or later because I am a child. His supplemental was better. The supplemental to Inglorious Rex 2 actually got me like teary-eyed because I'm gonna wave my hands. This is what I do when I'm about to give spoilers, so my hands stop waving. If you don't want the spoilers, when those poor soldiers got left high and dry, that got me. That totally got me to the point I liked the supplemental better than Inglorious 2, and I liked Inglorious Rex 2. I thought so some people I think are being unfairly. I don't know. It's popular now to shit on
It is.
the big three, but I like to think I'm fair. I'm a jerk. I'm an ass, but I like to think I'm a fair jerk and a fair ass. And I got nothing bad to say about Cyberfrog. It's a good comic. I will still get it. And Inglorious Rex, I'll back 3. It was a good comic. You know, and the supplemental was good. I'm a sucker. Why? Because it was a human story about characters doing something that I could understand, and then they were betrayed and trapped and let. I don't know. I thought that was really good. I haven't read IT, but you didn't like 1. The art was fantastic. And I like Starlight Cats. I like Starlight Cats because it was an all ages comic. It's something that you could give to kids. An artist from Glasshouse Studio in Brazil. I'm afraid I don't know the context of this comment. I have a short list for who I would hire. One writer was interviewed. Oh, you're hiring somebody? Good for you.
Awesome.
Your boy Zach hires excellent artists. Yes, he does. That's how I first heard about Renzo Rodriguez, who's working on my comic. Dude, Aaron Alfici was so good. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Yes. I don't like the fighting. It'll never happen, but it would funny to see Iceman. It'll never happen, but it would be funny. Yes.
You're right.
I'm excited to bring you Heroic Tales, and I'm so freaking nervous. It's getting closer and closer. Like, I got the trading cards right over here. I got the trading cards. I don't want to get into salesman mode, but I got all the coins and everything. I just talked to one of the artists today. He's finishing up one of the pages, and we're just getting the last 5 pages colored because Daniel's dad had a open heart surgery. He lives in South America, so he was 200 miles away from home taking care of his dad. He didn't, and he was apologizing. I was like, don't freaking apologize to me for taking care of your dad.
Yeah.
He hasn't blocked me yet. You know what? But I'm done. I'm done with drama. I'm sorry if EVS, if you're watching, I apologize. In full 100% honesty, I regret getting involved in drama. I tried to stay out of it, but I'm a stupid human, and I blame the fact that I'm just trapped in this house and I'm going nuts. So, if you EFAPing me right now and you're making fun of me, that's fine. I meant Godlike, still got to read. Oh, okay. If the story moved you, absolutely. If you felt something, I'm turning into an old wuss as I get older, and especially having a near-death experience. The best thing to happen about my accident, if I may be maudlin, is old friends that I haven't heard from in 20 years are calling me up and talking and sending me photographs. That means a lot. I saw a picture from prom night that I've never seen before. I look like Sylvester Stallone. I was good looking at one point, guys. I was good looking. I guess you said something. Yeah, I don't want to get into it. I wouldn't even have put this up. By the way, Graham said his Monster Island books. Graham is the impeccable gold standard of crowdfunding. Wraith of God was fantastic. Wraith of God, Fiendish, and Rock and Roll Ninja are my 2 favorite Comicsgate books. If to me, I define Comicsgate as anything crowdfunded. That's because Mark Waid created Comicsgate. So anything that Mark Waid won't work with is Comicsgate. So you can't leave. The only way to leave Comicsgate is to become the mainstream. No, not hiring. If I was, okay. People are laughing at Admiral Wackass, and that's going to make me laugh. Yes, fulfill it starting late August for what's MI?
Monster Island, probably.
Oh, Monster Island. Good. he's like a machine. That guy.
Yeah, he makes comics.
I don't know what Glass House Studio is. I don't know why he doesn't hire good American artists. He could afford them.
Yeah,
lose the nerves, tell the story, trust the audience. Absolutely. K. Ojo talks in emojis. I never understand, but these kids today. Drama Not, what he said to you is beyond the pale. Yes, thank you. I'm not going to say I deserved it, but I'm going to say I opened that door. Both threats of God to a great. Yes, they are. I almost said Alan Ofici. I'm getting the names mixed up. Alan Opresti is another class act.
Yeah, his show, The Graybeards, is probably one of the best ones.
Yeah, the Graybeards and the Professionals.
Professionals is great too.
Joe Scott is another guy who just an awesome guy, stayed out of drama, super talented. And I never sing the praises of Michael Bancroft enough.
Yeah.
Just another guy who loves his comics. I don't know where in Australia. I don't know Australia that well, but I picture him somewhere in like a desert on like a farm by himself with his beautiful trad wife outside milking the pigs and mowing the cows, and you know what I mean? He's drawing like a madman, you know. Face purple, open box. I feel like Dupe is talking to me, if you remember that character from the old X-Force. Love Bancroft, no homo. Yeah. So I don't know, 2 hours. Do you want to still talk? Do you want to end it now or what?
I think we're good. I don't think I have anything else to say. I got nothing else to say. That's it. I'm on empty.
Stuff I shouldn't say. Yeah.
I should probably be talking to my wife. I came home and I was like, "Hey, sweetie," and then
I got my crazy hair. So take us out with your comic. Tell us. I kind of talked about my pizzeria and throwing dildos at my partner's face and stuff. And didn't really talk about your comic.
A lot of clips are coming out of this show.
I know.
A lot of clips.
I set myself up for a lot of you know.
Yeah, so I mean, Berserker, like I said earlier, and those who are just tuning in or maybe didn't hear me talk about it, the book is $15. It's an ash can. The cover is vertical, but the book is actually formatted horizontally. So the book, black and white, written, drawn, everything by me, except for the logo was done by Matt Barr. Cover was colored by Big Boy Robo. That's him on Twitter. I think he's out of the Philippines. Super cool dude. Awesome, easy to work with. This is like the prologue to the first issue that I'm working on right now. $15 plus $10 shipping in the US. And I got a sticker that goes with it too. And then even what I'm gonna start doing is I have these prints. I'm gonna start throwing prints with them. So $15. I only printed 100 of these and I have 30 left. And I want to move these last 30.
How do you get them?
Just shoot me a message on Twitter at MightyBot Studio. $15 plus $10 shipping. We do PayPal, Cash App. I think there's only 2 PayPal and Cash App that I do. And yeah, I mean, I'll send it to your door in a Gemini mailer. After these last 30 are done. Each one comes signed and numbered by me. Once these are gone, I'm never printing this again. I'm going to do a second edition and a different but it's going to have a different cover. And that's just going to be normal print on demand, probably through Amazon or some other service. But if you want the first 100, 30 are left. And
I might as well do this. I got these challenge coins.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I got these challenge. Here's the side. This is a quarter, just to put it in scale. You can see how thick it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, one side's got the patriarch symbol. The other side says heroic tales. I bought these because the coins that I did for my campaign, they were taking so long. I thought they were, and these guys promised they would have them in time. So I only made like 20 of these. So these are real expensive. So, you know,
those are cool.
I would like to put in a bigger order so I could get the economy of scale down. But it's the same challenge coins that Mike Barron makes and Graham Nolan makes for Monster Island and Private American. Same company, not the same. But, you know, $30 post-paid at John's Longbox at PayPal.com. I think I have 13 of these left. I sent my first one to Canada yesterday. It was almost $20.
Oof. Yeah. Canada's expensive. That's perfect to like get one of those coins. And like, if you're doing a game night or something, who goes first? Flip the coin, heads or tails.
Yeah. and you know, here's the coin that I'm advertising as part of my campaign. I love these, but these take forever to make.
They're like little tokens for the arcade.
Yeah. These are the size of a quarter. I want to make these for all my characters, you know, for each. But I got to put in the order now so I don't have to sweat by the time I'm ready for whatchamacallit, my next campaign.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome.
This 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think we exhausted every topic. I enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man. It was a great time.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Hope everyone has a good night. Better tomorrow. Do you have your own channel?
I do. It's at MightyBot Studio. Same thing as my Instagram and my Twitter, and the YouTube is at MightyBot Studio.
Okay, and at that, we'll say good night, everybody.
Night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, bye-bye.